Have you ever wished you could understand what people are really thinking without them saying a word? Imagine being able to sense emotions, intentions, and thoughts simply by paying attention to the way someone moves, speaks, or even looks at you. This is not about guessing or assuming, it's about learning to notice details that most people miss and turning them into real understanding. In this guide, you will discover practical ways to observe people, interpret signals, and sharpen your intuition so that you can connect with others on a deeper level. You'll learn how to read subtle cues, recognize hidden feelings, and respond in ways that build trust and clarity. Every chapter will give you actionable steps you can start using immediately, helping you improve your relationships, communication, and awareness every day. By the time you finish, you'll have the skills to notice what people are truly feeling, anticipate reactions, and communicate more effectively without a single word. This journey is about more than observation. It's about developing focus, empathy, and confidence that will change the way you interact with the world. Chapter 1. Observe people carefully to understand their hidden thoughts. You are training your attention. You are training a skill that changes how you move through the world and how the world moves around you. Watching another person is more than seeing a face or hearing words. It is noticing what is present and what is absent. It is learning to register small changes in posture, breath, tone, and focus, and then using that information to respond more wisely. Observation is not a trick. It is a discipline. It is a habit you build one clear moment at a time. The first step is a choice to pay attention without judgment. The next steps are simple and concrete. This chapter gives clear methods you can use right now to notice what people are thinking and feeling without a single spoken question. The work begins with the quiet decision to be fully present. Start by correcting the most common mistake. Too many people assume that observation is passive. That is not true. Passive looking is noise. The skill you want is active observation. Active observation means focusing on what changes. Find a place where people gather. It could be a park, a waiting room, a coffee shop, or a hallway at work. Sit in a way that feels comfortable but alert. Breathe evenly and ground your attention on the scene. Start by watching one person for 3 full minutes. Do not try to interpret anything at first. Your only task is to record what you see. Notice the direction of their eyes, the tilt of their head, the position of their hands, the rhythm of their breathing. Count nothing yet, just name the facts in your head. Standing with crossed arms, looking at phone, tapping a foot, glancing up frequently, smiling briefly, then looking away. Keep the list short and exact. This training builds your eye for detail. After 3 minutes, add one more step. Compare what you saw with how that person behaves around others or in previous moments. This is the baseline method. Baseline means the normal pattern for a person. Most reliable inferences come from changes relative to baseline, not from single observations. For example, a confident person who suddenly avoids eye contact and breathes shallowly is showing a deviation that matters. Find what is normal then. Notice changes. That difference is the clue. It will often point to an internal state such as distraction, discomfort, or excitement. Write down the baseline and the change. Doing this repeatedly trains your mind to expect patterns and spot breaks from them. The next habit is sensory stacking. Use all available senses when you observe. Sight gives posture, facial tension, and movement. Hearing gives tone of voice, speed of speech, and pauses. Smell and touch rarely apply in public, but in small group settings. Subtle cues, such as the warmth of a handshake or the smell of stress, sweat, can add information. More importantly, use proprioception. Notice how your own body responds when you watch someone. Do you feel calm, tense, pulled forward, or pulled back? Your body picks up cues before your conscious mind does. That response is data. Record it. Over time, you will learn which internal reactions match which external signals. This is not magic. It is pattern recognition built on many small, honest notes. Practice slow focus for 15 minutes each day. Sit somewhere and watch a group quietly. Set a timer and commit to being precise. During this practice, follow 3 rules. 1. Name facts only. 2. Avoid immediate story making. 3. Note any change from baseline. Facts are simple, accurate statements, such as shoulders raised or voice softer. Story making is the immediate explanation you invent, such as they are angry before you have enough data. Premature conclusions lead to error and to projection of your own fears. The discipline is to wait until you have multiple converging signals before you name an internal state. This approach reduces mistakes and increases your confidence. Learn to read the face like a map of movement, not a map of meaning. 2 simple actions help. First, watch the face for timing. Emotions move quickly and then settle. A brief tightening around the eyes, a short upward movement of the mouth, or a quick tightening of the jaw are short events that matter. Note their duration and frequency. Second, watch for symmetry. Facial expressions that involve both sides of the face tend to be fuller and more likely genuine. Asymmetry or a delayed response often indicates suppression or a controlled display. Do not rely on one muscle movement alone. Look for clusters. A small smile without eye engagement, plus a rigid jaw and brief downward glance likely means polite discomfort, not genuine joy. Learn combinations of movements and their meanings by practicing and recording. Hands, feet and posture are powerful conveyors of unspoken thought. A person who points their toes toward the exit is more likely to be ready to leave than someone whose body faces inward. Hands that clench, touch, or cover parts of the face often signal tension or self-soothing. When a hand covers the mouth after hearing news, note the timing and context. Is the mouth covered before the words finish or after? That timing differentiates between surprise and guarded processing. Posture changes tell you about attention. A sudden lean forward shows engagement. A slow slump indicates withdrawal. Practice noticing these cues and then test your reading by observing whether the person's behavior changes in response to events around them. Voice reveals a lot when you know what to listen for. Focus on 3 elements: pitch, volume, and tempo. Pitch changes reveal emotional activation. A raised pitch often signals surprise, anxiety, or excitement. Volume carries intent. Quiet voices can be confident, reflective, or withdrawn, depending on context. Tempo is the speed of thought. Rapid speech often indicates stress or high arousal. Slower speech can be careful thought or low energy. Note also pauses. A long pause before answering a question can signal caution or uncertainty. A hard-edged quick answer may hide discomfort. Pair these auditory signals with visual cues to strengthen your inference. Use contrast to sharpen observation. Contrast here means watching a person before, during, and after an event. The change around an event clarifies meaning. Watch someone before a meeting, watch them during the meeting, and watch them after. A person who looks relaxed before, then fidgets during, and then avoids interaction afterward likely experienced stress during the meeting. The sequence matters. Build a habit of tracking episodes, not isolated moments. Episodes yield context, and context reduces wrong conclusions. Practice micro-interpretations and then verify. Micro-interpretation is a tentative guess restricted to a small domain, such as this person is distracted or this person is guarded. Keep the label narrow. Test the interpretation by observing what happens next, or when you can. If you can speak to the person, watch whether they return to normal after a break or remain distant. Verification can be verbal or nonverbal. A nonverbal verification is to observe how they respond to a neutral external stimulus, such as a phone chime, a change in lighting, or an unexpected sound. If their reactions are muted or exaggerated, that adds evidence. Over time, you will learn which micro-interpretations are reliable and which need more data. Create an observation journal. Each evening, spend 10 minutes writing 3 short entries from the day. For each entry, note the situation, the behavior you observed, the baseline, the change, and your micro-interpretation. Then write what actually turned out if you know. If you do not know, note the possible outcomes. This habit does 2 things. It sharpens memory, and it builds a database of examples you can use for pattern recognition. After a month, you will have 30 entries and measurable progress in accuracy. This record also forces you to confront your errors, which is essential for improvement. Guard against bias and personal projection. The mind fills gaps with personal history. If you have been hurt by criticism, you will often read neutral faces as judgmental. If you are anxious, you will see threat where none exists. The antidote is explicit checking. When a stirring reaction appears in you, pause and label the internal reaction. Name it exactly without judging it. For example, say to yourself, "Notice anxiety in my chest." Then return attention to the observed person and test your reading with facts, not feeling. This pause reduces projection and keeps your observations tied to real external signals. Use simple questions internally to guide your interpretation. Ask these 3 quick questions, silently after observing a change. 1. What changed? 2. How big is the change? 3. What other signals support this change? These questions are neutral and keep you grounded. Avoid making up intentions. Instead, focus on states. A person is anxious, frustrated, distracted, curious, engaged, sad, bored, excited, and so on. States are safer to infer than motives. Motives are complex and require more data. Apply the skill in real life with small, safe experiments. Practice reading a friend's mood before calling them. Before you speak to a colleague, glance for baseline cues and spot deviations. At home, watch family members during dinner. The goal is not to judge, it is to respond better. When you notice a child withdrawing from the table, you can ask a simple, non-accusatory question. A useful phrase is an observation framed as a neutral offer, such as, "You seem quieter than usual." That statement is short, direct, and non-judgmental. It gives the person space to confirm, deny, or explain. Your observation must not be a demand. It must be an opening. Develop quiet curiosity rather than intrusive interrogation. The difference matters. Curiosity looks for information. Intrusion looks for validation of a preconceived idea. Curiosity is a calm willingness to notice and accept whatever is true. Intrusion is aggressive and sets the other person on guard. When practicing in public, keep your attention relaxed. Avoid staring. Use soft peripheral focus. If you are concerned about being rude, shift attention to the hands, to the feet, or to the rhythm of movement rather than the face. You can learn a great deal from posture and gesture without creating discomfort for the person you observe. Train attention with simple drills. Try the 5-minute focus drill. Look at one person for 60 seconds and take mental notes. Then shift to a second person for 60 seconds. Repeat until 5 minutes are complete. Another drill is the silent story drill. Watch someone for 2 minutes and create 3 factual sentences describing what you saw. Keep sentences short and avoid emotional words. For example, he tapped the table 3 times, looked to his left and exhaled sharply. That drill improves accuracy and discipline. Cultivate presence through short daily rituals. Waking practice of 3 minutes of sitting still and counting breath increases your ability to remain present while observing others. A short walk without phone for 10 minutes strengthens peripheral awareness. These rituals have no direct link to reading minds except that they expand attention and reduce reactivity. The Stoic core here is self-control. The calmer you are, the clearer your observations will be. Distraction blunts sensitivity. The practice of presence is the foundation of accurate perception. Manage risk by using ethical boundaries. Mind reading without consent carries moral weight. Use your skill to serve, not to manipulate. If your reading suggests the person is in pain, offer support rather than probing for gossip. If your reading could give you advantage in negotiation, use it ethically. The core rule is to respect the dignity of others. Apply your observation to improve interactions, to reduce harm and to create connection. Do not weaponize these abilities for personal gain at another's expense. Learn from mistakes. You will be wrong often early on. That is expected. Keep a low ego about error. When an interpretation fails, inspect the data. Which signals did you overweight? Which did you ignore? Which assumptions crept into your story? This post-mortem is not self-punishment. It is learning. Stoic discipline treats mistakes as raw material for growth. Approach errors with curiosity and corrective action. Adjust your baseline maps and your rules accordingly. Use contrastive practice for speed. In many real situations you must act quickly. The contrast method builds speed. Watch a person for 20 seconds before a brief exchange. In those 20 seconds, note one baseline behavior and one deviation. Make a tiny action that aligns with your reading. For example, if you see someone near you, lean away and avoid touching them. If you see a brief smile, return a small smile. These micro-responses form the feedback loop that refines accuracy. Over time, 20 seconds becomes enough to produce reliable small choices. Practice verbal confirmation when appropriate. Nonverbal skill is the core, but words complete the loop. A short, neutral phrase can confirm your reading and allow the other person to correct you. Phrases such as, "You look tired today," or "That seemed like a hard moment," give others space. Keep phrasing descriptive and non-accusatory. Do not present your reading as fact. Present it as an observation and an offer. If the person corrects you, accept their correction and update your baseline. This approach builds trust and reduces defensive reactions. Keep physical and emotional boundaries. Reading minds is a tool. It can increase closeness, or it can create dependence or expectation. Use it to help others maintain autonomy. Offer help only when asked or clearly needed. Your role as an observer is to increase understanding, not to solve every problem for someone else. Resist the temptation to control outcomes because you read them. Stoic discipline is about acting rightly, not about controlling every reaction around you. Expand your vocabulary for internal states. Having clear, neutral words for emotions and states prevents sloppy inference. Practice words such as distracted, reserved, engaged, guarded, thoughtful, restless, and content. Use these words in your observation journal, not loaded terms like crazy, needy, or manipulative. Precise language improves accuracy and reduces moral judgment. Build a daily progression plan for practice. Week 1. Focus on baseline. Spend 5 minutes a day watching one person and recording baseline behaviors. Week 2. Focus on change. Spend 10 minutes noting deviations and practice forming narrow micro-interpretations. Week 3. Add verification. Make 2 small social tests per day and record outcomes. Week 4. Integrate voice and timing. Pay attention to pitch, tempo, and pauses. Week 5. Combine all elements and review your journal entries for patterns. This gradual plan gives structure and prevents overwhelm. Apply the practice to leadership and relationships. In leadership, use observation to reduce conflict and to notice burnout. A manager who recognizes a team member pulling back can intervene early with a supportive question. In close relationships, observation helps in emotional regulation. When a partner withdraws, you can choose to respond with calm curiosity rather than anger. In both contexts, your observations must always be framed with respect and humility. You are not reading someone like a file, you are observing a fellow human with agency. Use solitude to process heavy observations. If an observation suggests a deep issue such as grief or sustained depression, do not try to fix it on the spot. Record the facts, step back, and if appropriate, reach out with an offer of support or recommend professional help. Protect your own emotional bandwidth. Observing others closely can carry emotional weight. Use exercise, sleep, nutrition, and conversation with a trusted friend to stay grounded. Measure progress by accuracy, not by quantity. Keep a simple accuracy log. For each micro-interpretation, write whether it matched reality, yes, no, or partial. Aim for improvement rather than perfection. Small, steady increases in accuracy are evidence of growth. Celebrate that progress, but remain humble. Finally, practice the core Stoic idea of inner control. Your job as an observer is not to guess motives, it is to understand states and to respond with discipline. You cannot control what another person feels, but you can control how you notice, how you interpret, and how you respond. That control is the source of influence. The calmer you are, the clearer your vision. The clearer your vision, the better your action. Over time, observation becomes less about reading minds as a phrase, and more about noticing the human reality that underlies behavior. That reality is messy, simple, kind, and practical. It responds to calm presence, not to pressure. Each day, commit to one concrete action. Today, spend 15 minutes in a public place practicing baseline and change. Tonight, write 3 entries in your observation journal. This single loop of watch, record, and reflect will compound quickly. In 30 days, your attention will be sharper, your responses more measured, and your relationships clearer. You will notice shifts in people that others miss. Use that notice to act with care and strength. Use it to reduce harm and to increase trust. That is the real power of observing carefully to understand hidden thoughts. It is the power to choose wisely and to act well in a world where words are often not enough. Chapter 2. Analyze body language to reveal true emotions. Body language is the unspoken voice that communicates more than words ever could. Every shift in posture, every tilt of the head, every flicker of the eyes carries meaning, if you learn to see it. Observing gestures is not about guessing or stereotyping. It is about noticing patterns, interpreting them with care, and using that awareness to connect with people more authentically. True understanding begins when you stop listening only to words and start seeing the subtle movements that reveal genuine emotion. The way a person stands, sits, or moves can indicate confidence, hesitation, fear, or excitement. Each movement is a clue, a small window into what is really happening inside someone's mind. Start by developing awareness of your own body first. Before analyzing others, know how tension and relaxation feel in your muscles, how posture affects your mood, and how gestures arise naturally from emotion. When you are in tune with your own body, it becomes easier to recognize and interpret the signals of others without projection or misjudgment. Pay attention to your breathing, your shoulder alignment, and the way your eyes move. This internal calibration forms a foundation for observing external behavior accurately. Next, train your eyes to notice posture. Standing tall with shoulders back often reflects confidence or readiness, while slouched shoulders can suggest fatigue, disengagement, or sadness. But context is crucial. A person might slouch simply because they are tired, not because they feel defeated. The key is to observe how posture changes in response to interaction, environment, or conversation. Shifts in stance often reveal hidden emotions more reliably than fixed positions. Watch for small changes over time rather than isolated instances. Hands speak a language of their own. The way someone moves their hands while speaking, rests them on a surface, or gestures during a pause, can reveal nervousness, excitement, or thoughtfulness. Rapid tapping may indicate impatience or anxiety, while open hands facing upward often signal openness or honesty. Clenched fists or gripping objects tightly can reflect tension or hidden frustration. Observe the rhythm, consistency, and synchronicity of hand movements with verbal statements. Often, what is unsaid in words is fully expressed through the hands. Facial expressions provide direct windows into emotion, but they are nuanced. A fleeting furrow of the brow, a slight tightening of the lips, or a subtle lift of the eyebrows can betray feelings that words attempt to hide. Learning to detect these small cues requires patience and focus. Observe micro movements in the eyes, mouth, and forehead. Track how expressions change when different topics arise, or when interactions become emotionally charged. Expressions are rarely fixed. Their fleeting nature often carries the most honest information. Eyes are particularly revealing. Notice where someone looks when processing a question, recalling a memory, or concealing a thought. Rapid eye shifts, narrowing of the eyes, or sudden widening can communicate surprise, discomfort, or skepticism. Observe the balance between eye contact and avoidance. Some people maintain strong eye contact when confident, others do so out of habit or cultural training. The truth often lies in the combination of eye behavior with other bodily signals. Feet and legs carry information that is often overlooked. Crossed legs, shifting weight, or tapping feet can indicate discomfort, impatience, or readiness to act. The positioning of the feet often reflects where attention truly lies. If someone's body is turned slightly away, even while speaking politely, it may indicate reluctance or disengagement. Observing lower body signals adds depth to your understanding because these movements are less consciously controlled. Voice and tone complement body language. Listen not only to what is said, but how it is delivered. Variations in pitch, pace, and volume often match the emotions behind words. A trembling voice may signal nervousness, while a steady, calm tone can reflect confidence or detachment. Pauses, sighs, and changes in breathing are subtle cues that reveal internal states. Pair these auditory signals with visual observations for a comprehensive understanding of emotional expression. Clusters of behavior carry more weight than single gestures. One movement alone may be meaningless or misinterpreted. Look for groups of signals that appear together and align with context. For example, if someone's arms cross, jaw tightens, and eyes narrow simultaneously, it suggests a higher likelihood of discomfort or defensiveness than any one signal alone. Patterns create reliability. Observing multiple aspects of body language at once reduces the risk of misjudgment and enhances confidence in your interpretations. Context shapes meaning. The same gesture can communicate very different emotions depending on the environment, culture, or situation. Leaning back in a conversation may signal relaxation in one setting and disengagement in another. Cultural norms influence gestures, expressions, and postures. Avoid rigid rules and instead observe patterns within the context of the individual and situation. Accurate analysis depends on situational awareness as much as observation itself. Practice silent observation consistently. Daily exercises strengthen your ability to notice and interpret signals. Spend short periods in public spaces focusing on body language without forming judgments. Record your observations internally or in a journal. Note posture, gestures, expressions, and voice patterns. Track changes in response to events or conversations. After each session, reflect on what was observed, what it might mean, and how your interpretation aligns with reality. Over time, accuracy improves through disciplined practice. Combine observation with empathy. Understanding body language is not manipulation. It is about aligning your perception with another person's emotional reality. Use insights to respond appropriately, offer support, or communicate more effectively. Recognize emotional states, not to control them, but to navigate interactions with clarity and compassion. Empathy transforms observation into connection and ensures that insight is used responsibly. Mental rehearsal strengthens interpretation skills. Visualize interactions and predict likely body language responses. Anticipate gestures, expressions, and postural changes based on context and prior observation. Mentally run through scenarios and compare predictions with real-world outcomes. This rehearsal sharpens intuition and develops a deeper understanding of behavioral patterns. Practice is essential because body language is complex and subtle. Repeated attention enhances sensitivity to nuances that escape casual observers. Reflect on your own reactions. Your interpretation of body language is filtered through personal bias, expectations, and experiences. Regularly check whether your emotional reactions are coloring your analysis. Separate observation from projection. Question assumptions. Consider alternative explanations for behavior. Awareness of personal bias strengthens objectivity and prevents misreading signals. Accurate interpretation grows from clarity in both perception and mindset. Use structured learning to reinforce insights. Create a journal or digital log of daily observations. Record behavior, context, possible meaning, and outcomes. Periodically review entries to identify trends, errors, and successes. This systematized reflection accelerates skill development and highlights areas for improvement. Documenting progress also reinforces memory and understanding of complex behavioral patterns. Test interpretations ethically. Small experiments confirm understanding without violating trust. Adjust tone, body position or phrasing and observe responses. Subtle changes reveal reactions and validate hypotheses. Testing builds confidence in reading body language while maintaining respect and ethical boundaries. Ensure that every interaction prioritizes dignity and avoids manipulation. Patience is critical. Body language reveals itself over time. Avoid jumping to conclusions or interpreting isolated gestures. Skillful analysis requires steady attention, repeated observation, and careful synthesis. Accuracy develops gradually through repetition and reflection. Commit to ongoing learning and remain present in each interaction. Develop adaptability. Different people express emotions in unique ways. Signals vary by personality, mood, and context. Avoid rigid expectations. Instead, notice deviations from established baselines and adjust your understanding accordingly. Adaptability ensures that body language reading remains accurate and relevant across diverse interactions. Incorporate Stoic principles. Focus on what is observable and within control. Manage your reactions and maintain composure regardless of others' emotional states. Use insight to guide ethical action rather than judgment or manipulation. Discipline and self-control enhance the reliability of observation and the quality of responses. Use observation to improve communication. Adjust phrasing, tone, and gestures based on others' nonverbal cues. Align body language with verbal messages to enhance clarity and reduce misunderstandings. Effective communication emerges from understanding the unspoken as well as the spoken, ensuring both accuracy and empathy. Strengthen focus through incremental challenges. Begin with observing single gestures, then sequences, then clusters across interactions. Gradually increase complexity and duration. Training attention systematically builds endurance, precision, and confidence in reading others. Long-term mastery depends on disciplined incremental growth rather than rushed effort. Embrace continuous reflection and iteration. Review your interpretations, compare them with outcomes, and refine methods. Reflection transforms experience into skill and maintains ethical integrity. Each interaction is a chance to improve both understanding of others and mastery over your own observational abilities. Observation of body language is an essential step toward understanding minds without words. It is a skill that blends attention, patience, ethical clarity, and disciplined reflection. By studying posture, gestures, facial expressions, voice and context, and by practicing consistently, anyone can improve accuracy and insight. The result is greater connection, clearer understanding, and a more deliberate approach to every interaction. Mastery requires dedication, self-awareness, and respect for others, but the payoff is the ability to navigate human behavior with clarity, empathy, and confidence. This skill is not for manipulation, but for understanding, guiding decisions, improving communication, and fostering authentic human connection. Chapter 3. Listen deeply to detect what others feel. Listening is more than hearing words. It is the act of fully attending to another person's voice, tone, and rhythm, while sensing the emotions that pulse beneath the surface. True listening is a disciplined skill, requiring presence, patience, and a willingness to set aside one's own agenda. It is about absorbing not only what is said, but how it is said, the pauses between phrases, the slight shifts in emphasis, and the unspoken feelings conveyed through subtle vocal cues. Emotions carry a resonance that words alone often cannot communicate. By tuning in deeply, you access a richer layer of understanding that allows connection and insight to emerge naturally. Begin by quieting your mind. When listening, resist the urge to formulate immediate responses or to plan the next comment. Attention divided between speaking and listening diminishes clarity. Focus entirely on the speaker's voice and what it conveys beyond the literal meaning. Notice variations in pace, pitch, and volume. Is the speaker rushing as if anxious or slowing down as if weighing every word? Are there subtle tremors that suggest tension, hesitation, or excitement? Every variation contains a clue. Pay attention to phrasing and word choice. The words a person selects can reveal priorities, fears, and values, even when the statements appear neutral. Notice recurring themes or phrases that carry emotional weight. Some ideas are repeated because they matter. Others slip in unconsciously and signal inner conflict or concern. Track the interplay between content and emotion. When the words and tone align, clarity emerges. When they diverge, deeper attention is required to understand the hidden message. Listen to silences as carefully as to words. Pauses, gaps, and hesitations often carry more meaning than speech. A pause before answering can indicate reflection, uncertainty, or reluctance. A sudden silence may signal discomfort or the need to process emotion before responding. Resist filling these spaces prematurely. Allow silence to speak. The willingness to remain patient in these moments often encourages the other person to reveal more than they would under pressure. Identify emotional undertones. Feelings manifest subtly through vocal qualities. Tension can tighten pitch. Excitement may quicken rhythm. Sadness often lowers volume or slows tempo. Detect the contrast between spoken words and underlying emotion. Someone saying they are fine with a flat, monotone delivery may be experiencing frustration or disappointment. Training the ear to distinguish between surface language and underlying feeling enhances perception and empathy. Observe rhythm and pacing. Emotional states influence tempo. Rapid speech may accompany nervousness or agitation, while measured, slow articulation often signals deliberation or calm. Changes within the same conversation provide critical insight. A shift from steady speech to stammering may indicate growing anxiety or a shift in comfort level. Track these fluctuations consistently to map emotional landscapes accurately. Practice reflective listening. Occasionally, summarize what is perceived not as a judgment, but as a verification of understanding. Statements like, "I hear that this situation has been challenging," acknowledge the speaker's emotional state without imposing interpretation. This practice encourages openness and confirms that observations align with reality. Reflective listening also strengthens focus, as it requires maintaining continuous awareness of the content, tone, and underlying feeling. Notice emphasis. Emphasized words often highlight what matters most to the speaker. Stress patterns, elongation of syllables, or repeated phrases may indicate areas of concern, passion, or anxiety. Pair these observations with other cues, such as body movement or facial expression, for a multidimensional understanding. Emphasis acts as a spotlight on the speaker's inner priorities and emotional engagement. Differentiate factual content from emotional content. A person may relay events objectively, but simultaneously convey emotional responses through tone, pacing, or hesitation. Separating what is being said from how it is being said provides dual layers of insight. Understanding both the factual narrative and the emotional undercurrent allows for more effective response and support. Develop the habit of active listening. Focus attentively on each phrase, maintaining mental presence. Avoid distractions, both external and internal. Mentally record notable shifts in voice, timing, or energy. Visualize the speaker's emotional state alongside the narrative. Active listening is intentional and consistent, demanding repeated practice until it becomes automatic in interactions. Use questions sparingly and intentionally. When clarification is needed, ask questions that invite elaboration without leading the speaker. Open-ended prompts such as, "Can you tell me more about that?" or "How did that make you feel?" allow the speaker to expand and reveal deeper emotions. Questions should support observation, not interrupt or control the flow of expression. Pay attention to congruence. Check for alignment between words, tone, and nonverbal signals. Congruence indicates authenticity. Incongruence suggests internal conflict, hesitation, or hidden concern. Observing discrepancies is as revealing as observing alignment. Differences between expression and meaning are often where deeper understanding emerges. Record patterns over time. Repeated listening across interactions builds predictive insight. Certain phrases, tonal shifts, or hesitations recur under similar emotional conditions. Track these recurring signals in mind or in a journal. Patterns allow for informed anticipation of emotional states in future interactions and enhance both empathy and decision-making. Cultivate patience. Emotional expression is not always immediate or complete. Some people disclose slowly or cautiously. Effective listening demands tolerating partial information and ambiguity while remaining present and receptive. Avoid forcing disclosure. Patience builds trust and encourages the gradual unveiling of authentic feelings. Separate your emotions from those you observe. Deep listening can trigger personal responses. Maintaining composure prevents projection of your own feelings onto the speaker. Observe objectively while remaining empathetic. Awareness of internal reactions ensures clarity and prevents distortion of emotional understanding. Practice empathy through tone alignment. Subtly matching vocal energy or pace can enhance rapport and encourage authentic expression. This does not mean imitation, but adjustment that signals attentiveness and respect. The effect is often greater openness and deeper insight into what the speaker truly feels. Use mental mapping. As you listen, create a mental diagram linking words, tone, pauses, and context. Visualize relationships between narrative and emotional states. Mapping provides a framework to process complex information and to anticipate subsequent emotional reactions or behavioral shifts. Engage in reflective practice. After conversations, review key moments. Identify what signals were missed, misinterpreted, or accurately perceived. Consider how context influenced interpretation. Reflection consolidates learning, sharpens perceptive ability, and enhances emotional intelligence. Integrate body observation with listening. Pair auditory cues with posture, facial expression, and gestures. Listening alone provides one layer of information. Combining it with visual observation enriches understanding. Synchrony between what is heard and what is seen increases accuracy and reveals subtle emotional nuances. Experiment with focus variations. Sometimes concentrate on vocal subtleties, other times track narrative flow or pauses. Shifting attentional priorities builds versatility in listening skills and prevents habituation or automaticity. Each focus exercise strengthens a specific perceptual channel. Value consistency. Repeated attentive listening over time builds credibility and accuracy. One-off interpretations are prone to error. Sustained attention allows for validation and refinement. Consistency also signals respect, fostering trust and deeper disclosure. Develop humility in interpretation. Accept that understanding emotions through listening is probabilistic. Mistakes provide critical feedback. Approach each conversation as an opportunity to learn rather than as a test to be mastered instantly. This mindset encourages persistence, reflection, and continuous improvement. Observe environmental influence. External factors such as noise, temperature, and social pressure affect emotional expression. Take these variables into account to prevent misreading states. Adjust your attention to include the broader context in which speech occurs. Engage the imagination responsibly. Mentally simulate the speaker's perspective to anticipate reactions and understand possible motivations. Avoid assumptions that impose personal bias. Instead, focus on plausible interpretations grounded in observed signals. Imagination supplements, but does not replace. Careful attention. Develop microanalytical skills. Break conversations into segments, noting changes in tone, volume, or pace. Each segment contains clues about evolving emotional states. Observing sequential variation allows detection of emotional transitions, stress triggers, or comfort points that may otherwise go unnoticed. Balance empathy with discernment. Understanding emotions does not mean agreeing or intervening immediately. Evaluate what is observed and decide strategically how to respond. Empathy enhances insight. Discernment ensures action is measured, appropriate, and effective. Integrate listening into daily life. Everyday interactions offer constant opportunities to practice. Observe family dynamics, workplace conversations, and casual encounters. Regular practice hones skill and makes emotional perception automatic. Over time, listening deeply becomes second nature, enriching relationships and increasing influence. Respect boundaries. Not all emotions are for disclosure. Listen without pressing for confessions or personal details. allow natural emergence. Ethical listening prioritizes respect, consent, and autonomy. Observing without intrusion maintains trust and integrity. Listening deeply strengthens both personal insight and social intelligence. It enables recognition of hidden emotions, facilitates empathetic responses, and enhances relational skill. Discipline, patience, reflection, and ethical awareness transform simple hearing into profound understanding. Daily practice cultivates clarity, intuition, and emotional awareness that improves interactions and personal growth. True mastery is continuous, incremental, and rooted in respect for both self and others, producing a richer, more connected experience in every encounter. Chapter 4. Interpret facial expressions to uncover intentions. Facial expressions are the most immediate window into a person's inner state. Every movement of the eyes, mouth, forehead, and jaw conveys information that words often cannot capture. Learning to interpret these signals accurately allows you to understand intentions, detect emotions, and respond with clarity. Observation must be deliberate. Focused attention on subtle shifts reveals patterns that remain invisible when attention drifts. Each twitch of a brow, each tightening of lips, or each slight smile has significance if approached with awareness and patience. This skill develops through careful study, disciplined practice, and consistent reflection. Begin by training your eyes to detect nuance. Expressions are rarely static. They are fleeting and layered. A smile may mask discomfort, a raised brow may conceal doubt, and a brief clenching of the jaw may signal suppressed frustration. Watch closely, and over time, the subtle transitions become noticeable. Small movements often reveal the raw truth more reliably than large, exaggerated gestures, which can be deliberate or performative. Concentrate on the speed, symmetry, and timing of these movements, noting how they coincide with conversation or environmental cues. Recognize baseline behavior first. Every individual has a habitual facial pattern when relaxed or in familiar situations. Before making judgments, establish what normal looks like for that person. Compare new expressions against this baseline to detect deviations that carry meaning. A slight tightening around the eyes may indicate concern for one person, but be completely ordinary for another. Observation without context is prone to error. Understanding the usual allows deviations to become reliable indicators of underlying intention. Pay attention to the eyes. The eyes are often called the mirror of the soul because they communicate emotional reality with remarkable precision. Watch for pupil dilation, blink rate, and direction of gaze. A rapid glance away may suggest discomfort or distraction, while sustained eye contact can indicate confidence or assertiveness. Micro movements around the eyes, such as squinting or widening, often occur involuntarily and provide authentic insight into thoughts and feelings. Combine these cues with other facial information to form a complete picture of intent. Observe the mouth carefully. Lips can reveal tension, hesitation, or certainty. Pressed lips often signal restraint, disagreement, or contemplation, while a relaxed mouth may indicate ease and openness. The speed and pattern of speech-related movements can reflect nervousness, confidence, or impatience. Smiles may vary in authenticity. A genuine smile engages the muscles around the eyes, while a forced smile appears limited to the mouth. Distinguishing these differences enhances accuracy in interpreting emotion and intent. Forehead and brow movements are powerful indicators. Furrowed brows may signal concentration, concern, or disagreement. Raised eyebrows can suggest surprise, skepticism, or curiosity. Observe these gestures in conjunction with other expressions and context to avoid misinterpretation. Note whether movements are symmetrical or asymmetrical, brief or prolonged. Subtle variations provide insight into the emotional and cognitive processes occurring in the mind of the speaker. Recognize clusters of expression. Single facial movements rarely convey complete information. Look for multiple signals occurring simultaneously or in sequence. When the eyes, mouth, and brows all convey tension, the combined signal is stronger than any individual component. Sequential changes also reveal shifts in emotion, which can indicate hesitation, decision-making, or evolving thought. Pattern recognition is essential to understanding nuanced intentions. Track micro-expressions carefully. These fleeting facial expressions occur in fractions of a second and often reveal hidden emotions. Because they are involuntary, micro-expressions are reliable indicators of internal states. Common micro-expressions include fleeting anger, fear, disgust, happiness, or surprise. Observe the onset, duration, and offset of these expressions. Subtle but consistent micro-expressions can uncover intentions even when someone attempts to mask their feelings. Context shapes interpretation. The same facial movement can mean different things depending on the situation. The frown in a heated discussion may reflect disagreement, while the same movement during concentration may signal focus. Environmental factors, prior interactions, and cultural norms influence expression. Always situate your observations within the surrounding circumstances before drawing conclusions. Context prevents assumptions and improves accuracy. Combine observation with other cues. Facial expressions alone are informative, but more powerful when combined with body language, tone of voice, and verbal content. Cross-reference expressions with gestures, posture, and speech patterns to confirm or refine interpretations. Consistency between multiple channels strengthens confidence in reading intentions. Discrepancies indicate complexity or potential concealment. Integrating multiple cues provides a multidimensional understanding of human behavior. Practice silent interpretation. Spend time observing faces in neutral settings, such as public spaces or recorded interactions. Resist labeling or guessing too quickly. Simply note the changes, timing, and sequence. Observe how expressions shift in response to questions, environmental changes, or interpersonal interaction. Silent practice strengthens perception, improves attention to subtlety, and builds confidence in interpreting emotional states. Test your understanding gently. Validate interpretations by noting reactions to neutral inquiries or small changes in interaction. Observe whether anticipated responses align with actual behavior. Confirming accuracy enhances confidence and sharpens perceptual skills. This method is ethical when conducted with respect, and it prevents over-reliance on assumptions. Regular testing turns observation into applied skill. Reflect systematically. After observation, review patterns, deviations, and sequences. Record findings in a journal or mental note, including context and probable emotional significance. Periodic reflection identifies trends, improves detection of subtle changes, and reduces bias. Reflection transforms repeated observations into a structured understanding of human behavior. Develop patience. Expressions change quickly and are often fleeting. Rushing to interpret may overlook crucial signals. Wait for clusters, sequences, and context to emerge before concluding. Patience allows the observer to capture complexity and subtlety that are often missed in rapid judgment. Train emotional granularity. Facial expressions are rarely binary. A smile can be polite, genuine, nervous, or ironic. A frown can signal sadness, confusion, or concentration. Develop sensitivity to fine emotional distinctions. Recognizing subtle variations enhances insight into true intentions and feelings. Emotional granularity allows for responses that are accurate and appropriately tailored. Avoid assumptions. Do not impose personal narratives or desires onto observed expressions. Maintain focus on the data presented through the face itself. Assumptions cloud judgment and reduce accuracy. Separate perception from interpretation and let observed patterns guide understanding rather than preconceived ideas. Integrate Stoic principles. Focus on observation, patience, and ethical response. The goal is understanding, not manipulation. Maintain composure, regulate reactions, and let insight inform deliberate action. Mastery of fail interpretation requires discipline and self-control, aligning perception with principled action rather than impulse. Use regular practice to refine skill. Daily observation, reflection, and comparison improve accuracy. Practice with different individuals, settings, and interactions. The more varied the exposure, the stronger the ability to detect subtle expressions and differentiate between similar movements with distinct meanings. Combine observation with empathy. Interpreting expressions is not about exploiting information. It is about understanding emotional states to respond thoughtfully and appropriately. Awareness of intention allows connection, support, and effective communication. Empathy ensures that insight leads to constructive, ethical, and compassionate action. Employ controlled mental rehearsal. Visualize potential facial expressions in various scenarios and predict likely emotions. Compare anticipated responses with real-world observations. Mental rehearsal builds anticipation, sharpens detection, and improves real-time interpretation. Regular rehearsal strengthens perceptual agility and confidence. Consider cultural factors. Facial expressions can vary across cultures in intensity, frequency, and meaning. Avoid universal assumptions. Learn common cultural patterns while maintaining attention to individual baseline behaviors. Awareness of cultural context reduces misinterpretation and increases respect for diverse expressions of emotion. Integrate observation with listening and gesture tracking. Facial cues are most powerful when viewed as part of a multi-channel analysis. Observe in combination with tone, posture, and hand movement to confirm interpretation and detect contradictions. Multi-channel integration increases reliability of conclusions about intention. Focus on incremental improvement. Accuracy develops gradually. Begin with basic expressions, then progress to clusters, microexpressions, and sequence interpretation. Regular disciplined observation gradually sharpens perception and builds confidence. Incremental practice ensures sustainable skill development rather than rushed judgment. Maintain ethical clarity. Observing expressions must serve understanding and connection, not manipulation. Respect autonomy, privacy, and dignity. Apply insights to improve interaction, communication, and support rather than to control or exploit. Ethical practice ensures that mastery benefits both observer and observed. Mastery of facial interpretation transforms interactions. Understanding the nuances of expression enhances perception, empathy, and decision-making. Disciplined observation, combined with reflection, patience, and ethical intent, allows the observer to detect hidden intentions and respond appropriately. This skill is cultivated over time through deliberate practice, reflection, and application, resulting in deeper open understanding, improved relationships, and effective communication grounded in clarity and respect. Chapter 5. Recognize microexpressions to see subconscious signals. Microexpressions are the briefest glimpses into a person's subconscious. They flash across the face in a fraction of a second and often occur before conscious control can filter them. These fleeting signals reveal emotions that someone may not wish to share openly, providing insight into thoughts and feelings that lie beneath surface communication. Learning to detect microexpressions is less about memorizing rules and more about cultivating extreme awareness and refined observation skills. It requires patience, focus, and consistent practice to catch the rapid movements that often go unnoticed by casual observers. Begin by studying the major categories of microexpressions. Emotions like happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, disgust, and contempt each manifest in subtle facial changes. The brief rise of a brow, the faint tightening of the lips, or a slight narrowing of the eyes can indicate one of these emotions, even when the person maintains a neutral expression. Recognizing these categories provides a foundation, but sensitivity to nuance is critical because variations exist between individuals. Develop your baseline understanding of each person. Observing how someone's face looks when they are relaxed and unengaged allows you to notice deviations that are meaningful. A slight twitch, an eyebrow lift, or a fleeting smile gains significance only when contrasted against normal behavior. Every individual expresses emotion uniquely, so establishing this baseline is essential to accurate interpretation. Train to notice speed and duration. Microexpressions appear for mere fractions of a second, often faster than conscious processing. They are involuntary and rarely last long, making detection challenging without focused attention. Repeated practice watching video recordings of real interactions or observing people in controlled settings can improve reaction time and sharpen the ability to perceive these rapid cues. Attention to subtle temporal patterns allows accurate reading of subconscious signals. Focus on the eyes and surrounding areas. Small movements around the eyes are among the most telling indicators of hidden emotion. A quick narrowing or widening, a subtle shift in gaze, or a rapid blink can reveal fear, surprise, or discomfort. Eye activity often precedes full facial expressions and is less likely to be consciously controlled, making it a particularly reliable source of insight. Observe mouth movements carefully. Micro-expressions frequently manifest around the lips and jaw. A fleeting press of the lips, a quick curl, or a brief drop of the corners can signify suppressed anger, amusement, or disgust. These subtle changes often contradict verbal statements, providing clues to inner conflict or hidden reactions. Tracking these movements in context enhances understanding of underlying emotions. Pay attention to symmetry. Microexpressions often appear on one side of the face before spreading or may remain asymmetrical entirely. Asymmetry can signal intensity or the presence of conflicting emotions. Noticing uneven movements, especially when combined with other facial cues, provides deeper insight into the complexity of subconscious responses. Combine observation of microexpressions with other behavioral cues. Gesture, posture, and tone of voice often reinforce or contrast with the facial signal. A subtle frown paired with crossed arms may indicate defensiveness, while the same frown with relaxed posture may reflect concentration. Multi-channel observation increases accuracy and helps differentiate between genuine emotion and conscious masking. Practice deliberate visual scanning. Divide attention systematically across facial regions. Observe the forehead, eyebrows, eyes, cheeks, nose, and mouth in rapid succession, noting fleeting changes. This methodical approach ensures no detail is overlooked and builds a mental map of real-time expression shifts. Repetition strengthens perceptual speed and memory for subtle cues. Recognize triggers and context. Microexpressions often emerge in response to specific stimuli, whether verbal questions, environmental events, or social interactions. Track what occurs immediately before a microexpression to infer emotional cause. Understanding the relationship between stimulus and response is crucial for interpreting subconscious signals accurately. Develop emotional awareness yourself. Sensitivity to microexpressions requires understanding the spectrum of emotion. Regular reflection on your own feelings, responses, and internal signals sharpens perception. Recognizing subtle emotional shifts in yourself builds empathy and provides reference points for interpreting similar cues in others. Self-awareness amplifies observational accuracy. Practice observation without judgment. Seeing a microexpression does not require labeling it immediately. Simply note the presence, timing, and type of movement. Over time, analysis can combine these observations with other cues to form a coherent picture. Observing without preconceived judgment maintains clarity and prevents bias from interfering with interpretation. Use video playback as training. Watching recorded interactions allows repeated viewing, slow-motion analysis, and careful study of facial micro-movements. Compare multiple instances and contexts to identify consistent patterns. This approach accelerates learning and reinforces recognition skills that may be missed in real-time observation. Test interpretations ethically. Subtle confirmation can be obtained through follow-up interaction or observation. For instance, noticing microexpressions of discomfort can guide adjustments in questioning or conversational approach. Ethical testing ensures accuracy while respecting personal boundaries and avoids using insight for manipulation. Track clusters of microexpressions. A single, fleeting expression is informative but not conclusive. Observe sequences of microexpressions that appear in combination or in rapid succession. Clusters indicate stronger emotional signals, internal conflict, or concealed intentions. Patterns provide reliability and depth beyond isolated movements. Refine temporal sensitivity. With practice, detection improves to the level where expressions lasting fractions of a second become noticeable. Focus on the onset, apex, and offset of each movement. Temporal dynamics often reveal intensity, authenticity, and emotional trajectory, which single snapshots cannot provide. Integrate context of personality. People display emotion differently depending on temperament, cultural norms, and individual tendencies. Recognize baseline tendencies and habitual expressions to avoid misinterpretation. Microexpressions carry maximum meaning when analyzed in conjunction with knowledge of the individual's typical behavior patterns. Practice in everyday settings. Casual observation in social spaces, meetings, and family interactions offers continuous opportunity to refine skill. Focus on subtle cues during natural conversation rather than staged or artificial scenarios. Regular exposure in realistic settings strengthens the ability to detect fleeting, genuine signals. Reflect on accuracy and errors. After interactions, compare interpretations with eventual disclosure, behavioral outcomes, or context. Identify missed cues, misread expressions, or correctly detected signals. Reflection converts raw observation into refined skill and highlights areas for improvement. Continuous feedback loops accelerate mastery of subconscious signal detection. Integrate microexpression reading with broader understanding. Combining these subtle facial cues with body language, tone, and verbal content provides a multi-dimensional view of internal states. This integration enhances situational awareness, predictive insight, and communication effectiveness. Cultivate patience and persistence. Micro-expression recognition is a subtle skill that develops slowly. Initial efforts may feel challenging, but consistent practice improves speed, accuracy, and depth of understanding. Persistence allows mastery of rapid, fleeting signals that carry significant emotional meaning. Use insight to improve interpersonal connection. Detecting subconscious signals enables timely support, empathetic responses, and appropriate engagement. Awareness of hidden emotion fosters trust, responsiveness, and relational depth. Applying this understanding ethically strengthens communication, collaboration, and influence without manipulation. Maintain ethical responsibility. Observing microexpressions is a skill for understanding and connection, not for exploitation. Always prioritize respect, consent, and dignity. Use insight to enhance positive interaction, guide support, and facilitate communication, rather than to control or deceive. Microexpressions reveal the silent currents beneath surface communication. They carry invaluable insight into hidden emotions, intentions, and unspoken thoughts. Disciplined observation, focused attention, contextual understanding, and ethical application transform these brief signals into powerful tools for connection and influence. Mastery requires patience, reflection, and continuous practice, but the result is a heightened ability to perceive subconscious truths, respond effectively, and navigate human interaction with clarity, empathy, and integrity. Chapter 6. Track gestures to understand unsaid messages. Gestures are powerful indicators of thought and feeling that often escape conscious control. Every movement of the hands, arms, and even subtle shifts of the shoulders can reveal messages a person does not voice. Learning to track gestures is not about memorizing fixed meanings, but about observing patterns, context, and timing to understand the unspoken messages that guide behavior. Effective observation requires focus, patience, and ethical awareness. When gestures are read accurately, they provide clarity about intentions, emotions, and thought processes that may be hidden behind words. Start by observing hand movements closely. Hands often reflect emotion directly because they are frequently used unconsciously to emphasize points or convey feelings. Open palms suggest honesty and openness, while tightly clenched fists can indicate tension, frustration, or control. Subtle movements such as tapping, rubbing, or fidgeting often accompany internal states of nervousness or impatience. Tracking these cues over time reveals consistent patterns that clarify the underlying emotional message. Consider the rhythm and frequency of gestures. Repeated movements may indicate emphasis, excitement, or agitation. Rapid, erratic gestures can signal anxiety or urgency, whereas slow, deliberate movements suggest calm or control. Pay attention to how gestures coincide with speech and facial expression. Alignment across multiple channels strengthens confidence in interpretation, while inconsistencies may signal concealed intentions or internal conflict. Notice posture and upper body shifts. Movements of the shoulders, head, and torso often complement hand gestures and enhance meaning. Leaning forward can signal engagement, interest, or assertiveness, while leaning back may indicate defensiveness, discomfort, or withdrawal. Shoulder tension or shifting weight can reveal hesitation or uncertainty. Observing posture in combination with gestures provides a richer understanding of unspoken communication. Track directional movements. The way someone positions their body or points can indicate attention, intent, or mental focus. Pointing, tilting the head, or orienting the body toward or away from others communicates subconscious messages about interest, preference, or avoidance. Tracking these subtle shifts allows insight into focus, alignment of intention, and underlying thought patterns. Observe the hands during speech. People frequently use their hands to structure thought or emphasize points. Movements that match speech rhythm often reinforce verbal statements, whereas gestures that conflict with words may reveal doubt or concealed emotion. Watch for repetitive or exaggerated gestures, which can signal stress or a desire to assert authority. Recognizing these patterns increases the reliability of interpretation. Pay attention to micro-gestures. Small, almost imperceptible movements often precede or accompany larger actions and reveal initial emotional responses. A slight shrug, a quick hand twitch, or a brief finger tap may indicate hesitation, excitement, or disagreement. Micro-gestures often occur involuntarily, providing access to feelings that are not consciously expressed. Tracking these details requires intense focus and repeated practice. Consider gestures in clusters. Isolated movements can be misleading, but a series of gestures that appear together tells a stronger story. For instance, crossed arms combined with a downward glance and slight shoulder hunch is more informative than any single gesture alone. Clusters reveal patterns, intention, and emotional state more reliably than individual actions. Observe timing in relation to conversation. Gestures that occur before, during, or after verbal statements offer distinct clues. A hand raised before speaking may indicate eagerness or assertiveness. Gestures coinciding with key words emphasize importance or emotional charge. Movements after a statement may reveal subconscious evaluation, doubt, or reconsideration. Timing enhances understanding of gesture significance. Integrate context. Meaning depends on circumstances, environment, and individual personality. A hand placed over the mouth may signify surprise in one context and anxiety in another. Consider the setting, relationship, and prior interactions when interpreting gestures. Context ensures accuracy and prevents misreading movements as universally fixed signals. Combine gestures with facial cues. Hands and posture gain clarity when observed alongside expressions. A smile with relaxed hands suggests genuine engagement, while a tense jaw paired with fidgeting hands may indicate stress or concealment. Integrating multiple channels provides a more complete picture of emotion and intent. Develop baseline observations for each person. Everyone has habitual gestures that are natural and contextually neutral. Before interpreting meaning, identify these patterns. Deviations from baseline carry the most information and are often the key to understanding unspoken messages. Tracking gestures against this personal reference improves accuracy. Practice silent observation in daily life. Watch interactions without making judgments or assumptions. Focus on hand, arm, and upper body movements in different settings and contexts. Take note of recurring patterns, sequences, and responses to stimuli. Daily observation strengthens perceptual skills and improves real-time interpretation. Reflect on accuracy. After interactions, review gestures observed and compare them with eventual outcomes or verbal confirmations. Identify which cues were reliable indicators and which were misinterpreted. Reflection builds understanding, improves pattern recognition, and strengthens predictive accuracy over time. Observe cultural influences. Gesture interpretation is shaped by social norms and cultural background. Certain movements may carry different meanings across cultures, while some are universal. Awareness of cultural context ensures interpretation is appropriate and avoids misreading common or polite gestures as emotional signals. Track subtle energy shifts in gestures. Movements often carry intensity and force that indicate emotional charge. Tension, speed, or pressure of motion can differentiate between casual movement and strong feeling. Observing these energetic qualities adds depth to understanding unsaid messages and subconscious emotional state. Use gestures to anticipate intentions. By combining baseline context and clusters of movements, subtle cues can reveal future actions. A person shifting weight forward while making a decisive hand gesture may be preparing to assert a point. Anticipating intentions allows for more strategic interaction and better communication outcomes. Integrate observation with listening and facial expression tracking. Gestures rarely act alone. Synchrony with tone of voice, facial microexpressions, and posture amplifies insight. Contradictions among channels may indicate concealment, conflict, or stress. Cross-referencing information across multiple channels enhances reliability of understanding. Refine attention to detail. Small gestures can carry significant information. Finger tapping, wrist rotations, or minor shoulder movements often precede emotional shifts or decision-making. The skill of noticing subtle details grows with deliberate practice and continuous focus. Incremental attention builds perceptual sharpness. Develop ethical awareness. Tracking gestures should always serve understanding, empathy, and constructive interaction. Avoid using insight for manipulation or control. Observing gestures with respect for privacy and autonomy ensures ethical application and strengthens trust in relationships. Apply observation to improve communication. Awareness of gestures allows adjustment of your own body language to match or complement the interaction. Aligning posture, hand movement, and tone with observed cues fosters clarity, rapport, and mutual understanding. This feedback loop enhances influence and connection without coercion. Practice in varied contexts. Observe gestures in meetings, social gatherings, and informal conversations. Exposure to diverse individuals and situations refines perception, improves adaptability, and builds confidence in interpreting subtle messages across settings. Diverse practice accelerates mastery. Combine tracking with predictive insight. Over time, patterns of gesture and movement reveal likely intentions, emotional shifts, or decision tendencies. This predictive capacity enhances problem-solving, negotiation, and relational responsiveness. Anticipation based on observation allows proactive and thoughtful engagement. Patience and repetition are essential. Gesture tracking is a skill that develops gradually. Accuracy improves with consistent observation, reflection, and ethical application. Dedication to incremental learning strengthens the ability to read unspoken messages reliably. Mastery of gestures provides access to the silent language of human interaction. By observing hand, arm, and upper body movements, noting timing, energy, clusters, and context, and integrating with facial and vocal cues, it becomes possible to understand intentions and emotions that are not verbally expressed. Disciplined attention, reflection, and ethical practice transform gesture observation into a tool for clarity, empathy, and effective communication. Over time, this skill cultivates awareness, improves relationships, and enhances personal and professional interactions through understanding of what remains unspoken. Chapter 7. Study tone of voice. To grasp feelings. The tone of voice is a direct reflection of emotion, intention, and mental state. It conveys information that words alone often fail to communicate. To truly understand what someone feels, one must pay close attention to pitch, volume, rhythm, pace, and emphasis. These vocal qualities provide subtle yet powerful insight into emotions such as confidence, hesitation, anxiety, excitement, or frustration. Learning to study tone is not about judging or labeling others quickly, but about developing careful observation, patience, and consistent practice to interpret the unspoken nuances that accompany speech. Begin by tuning into pitch. The highness or lowness of a voice often reflects emotional energy. A higher pitch may signal excitement, nervousness, or tension, while a lower pitch can suggest calm, authority, or seriousness. Notice small fluctuations within a single sentence or across multiple sentences, as these shifts often convey subtle emotional cues. Tracking pitch variation allows for recognition of both conscious and subconscious emotional states. Observe volume carefully. Loudness or softness can indicate confidence, hesitation, or emotional intensity. Speaking louder than usual may suggest urgency, anger, or the need to assert control, while softer tones may reveal insecurity, discomfort, or intimacy. Compare current volume levels with baseline vocal patterns to detect deviations that carry meaningful signals. Pay attention to rhythm and pacing. How quickly or slowly someone speaks reflects their mental state and emotional focus. Rapid speech often accompanies excitement, stress, or impatience, whereas slow, measured speech suggests contemplation, control, or calm. Shifts in pacing within a conversation may indicate a change in emotional state or the emergence of hesitation and uncertainty. Notice emphasis and stress. The way certain words are highlighted can reveal priorities, hidden feelings, or points of concern. Emphasis can be subtle, such as lengthening a syllable or increasing volume on a specific word. These shifts often indicate what matters most to the speaker or where emotional energy is concentrated. Tracking emphasis allows for deeper understanding of both content and underlying feeling. Observe tonal quality. The richness, warmth, or sharpness of a voice communicates emotion beyond the literal words. A soft, warm tone can signal comfort, agreement, or approachability, while a sharp, clipped tone may suggest irritation, impatience, or defensiveness. Tonal quality combined with pitch, volume, and rhythm produces a complete emotional picture. Track changes over time. Emotions often fluctuate during a conversation. Monitor how tone shifts from sentence to sentence, particularly in response to questions, statements, or environmental stimuli. Sudden changes may reveal surprise, disagreement, or anxiety, while gradual changes can reflect growing comfort, excitement, or fatigue. Recognizing patterns across time provides predictive insight into emotional state. Listen for pauses and silences. The placement and duration of pauses carry meaning. A pause before answering may indicate reflection, hesitation, or uncertainty. Extended silence can signal discomfort, emotional processing, or the need to formulate a careful response. Observing how a speaker uses silence enhances understanding of both emotion and intention. Focus on consistency. Compare tone with verbal content and other cues, such as facial expression and body language. When tone aligns with words, communication is likely genuine. Inconsistencies between tone and speech often signal hidden feelings, internal conflict, or attempts to mask emotion. Cross-checking channels increases the reliability of interpretation. Develop baseline understanding. Each person speaks with unique vocal habits. Observing their natural tone in relaxed settings provides a reference point. Deviations from this baseline highlight emotional shifts that may otherwise go unnoticed. Establishing individual vocal patterns ensures more accurate perception of feelings. Practice active listening. Fully concentrate on the speaker without planning your response or letting distraction interfere. Focus on tonal changes, rhythm, and emphasis. Active listening requires presence, patience, and deliberate attention to detect subtle cues that reveal internal states. The practice strengthens both comprehension and relational empathy. Reflect on emotional intensity. Some emotions manifest more strongly in tone than others. Anger, fear, or excitement may alter pitch and volume significantly, while subtle feelings like irritation or doubt might manifest in minor tonal shifts. Learning to detect both intense and subtle emotional markers increases perceptual sensitivity. Observe speech flow. Hesitations, repetitions, and filler words often accompany changes in emotion. Frequent or sounds may indicate nervousness or uncertainty. Pauses between phrases may reveal thought processing or hidden tension. Tracking these disruptions alongside tonal patterns provides a nuanced understanding of emotional state. Notice modulation. A well-modulated voice varies naturally in pitch, tone, and emphasis. Flat or monotone speech may signal boredom, disinterest, or emotional suppression. Contrasts in modulation often reflect engagement, excitement, or stress. Monitoring modulation helps differentiate authentic emotional expression from masked or controlled speech. Track vocal energy. Emotional intensity often manifests through the force and loveliness of speech. Energetic delivery may indicate enthusiasm, passion, or agitation, while subdued delivery suggests calm, hesitation, or fatigue. Attention to energy levels adds depth to interpretation of underlying feeling. Integrate observation with context. Environmental factors, social dynamics, and situational stresses influence vocal expression. A raised voice may be appropriate in a noisy room, but may still carry emotional nuance when compared to baseline behavior. Contextual understanding prevents misinterpretation and supports accurate emotional reading. Combine vocal analysis with other cues. Tone alone provides insight, but is more powerful when combined with facial expressions, gestures, and posture. A tense tone paired with crossed arms and furrowed brows strongly signals discomfort or resistance. Multi-channel observation enhances both accuracy and comprehension of intention. Practice recognition in recordings. Listening to conversations or speeches recorded in controlled settings allows repeated review. Analyze pitch, volume, rhythm, and emphasis at your own pace. This method builds speed, precision, and confidence in detecting subtle vocal cues in real-time interactions. Test interpretations ethically. Observe responses to your engagement and note alignment between anticipated and actual behavior. Adjust understanding based on feedback without imposing assumptions or judgment. Ethical validation maintains trust while refining skill. Develop self-awareness. Sensitivity to tone improves when you understand your own vocal tendencies, emotional triggers, and perception biases. Monitoring your responses to others' tones enhances objectivity and prevents projection of personal emotions onto observations. Self-awareness strengthens interpretation accuracy. Practice empathy through tone. Subtle mimicry of speech rhythm or energy can foster rapport and encourage openness. Matching tone without imitation signals attentiveness and understanding. Empathetic engagement enhances both perception and relational connection. Track changes across conversation segments. Emotional shifts often occur in response to evolving topics, questions, or social cues. Monitor tone continuously to identify transitions in mood, engagement, or thought processes. Observing change over time builds predictive understanding of underlying emotions. Maintain patience. Vocal cues are nuanced and require time to detect accurately. Avoid rushing to judgment or labeling emotions prematurely. Patience ensures careful observation and prevents error. Focus on integration and application. Observing tone enhances understanding of emotion, motivation, and intention. Use insights to adjust communication strategies, provide support, or anticipate needs. Skillful application strengthens influence, empathy, and relational effectiveness. Daily practice enhances mastery. Consistent attention to vocal nuance in conversations, presentations, and casual interactions gradually builds perceptual precision. Repeated experience fosters instinctive awareness, improving both understanding and interpersonal effectiveness. Ethical consideration is essential. Studying tone should be employed to foster clarity, empathy, and constructive interaction. Avoid manipulation, judgment, or exploitation. Respectful use of vocal perception ensures trust, understanding, and relational integrity. Mastering tone interpretation transforms interactions. Attention to pitch, volume, rhythm, emphasis, and modulation provides insight into emotions and intentions beneath surface speech. Disciplined observation, reflection, and ethical application allow one to respond thoughtfully, anticipate reactions, and navigate communication effectively. Over time, this skill enhances perception, empathy, and influence, creating deeper, more meaningful human connections. Chapter 8. Identify behavioral patterns to predict actions. Behavior is the most consistent reflection of thought and intention over time. By observing patterns in how someone reacts, speaks, or moves, it becomes possible to anticipate future actions and decisions. Behavioral patterns emerge through repetition and consistency, revealing both conscious habits and unconscious tendencies. The key to identifying these patterns is careful attention, systematic observation, and ethical application. When understood correctly, they provide insight into motivation, preferences, emotional responses, and likely choices. Start by observing repeated behaviors in different contexts. People often demonstrate consistent reactions under similar circumstances, whether in social settings, work environments, or casual interactions. Note how individuals handle stress, communicate with others, and respond to challenges. Look for recurring gestures, phrases, facial expressions, or body movements. These repeated actions form the foundation of behavioral patterns that allow for prediction and understanding. Pay attention to timing and triggers. Behavior is often linked to specific stimuli or events. A person may consistently become tense when faced with criticism, excited when discussing a favorite topic, or withdrawn when overwhelmed. By identifying these triggers, it is possible to anticipate likely reactions in comparable situations. Tracking what precedes certain behaviors provides the most reliable basis for understanding and prediction. Observe consistency across different environments. People may adapt their behavior depending on setting, but underlying tendencies usually remain visible. Compare behavior in formal, casual, and private settings to detect stable traits. For instance, someone who exhibits patience and attentiveness with friends may show the same careful consideration in meetings, though expressed differently. Patterns that persist across contexts are particularly revealing. Focus on micro-behaviors. Small repeated actions, often unnoticed, can indicate underlying habits and emotional tendencies. Tapping fingers, shifting weight, adjusting clothing, or frequent fidgeting may reflect anxiety, impatience, or preparation for action. Tracking these small signals over time builds a nuanced understanding of a person's behavioral tendencies. Notice decision-making styles. The way a person approaches choices reflects patterns of thought and action. Some act quickly and assertively, while others deliberate and weigh options carefully. Observing decision-making behavior repeatedly allows prediction of how someone will respond when faced with similar choices in the future. Decision-making habits reveal risk tolerance, confidence, and emotional influence on behavior. Track verbal patterns, repeated phrases, speech structures, or ways of expressing disagreement reveal behavioral tendencies. Some people repeat affirmations or questions when uncertain, others use humor or sarcasm under stress. Noting these verbal patterns provides insight into thought processes and emotional responses, enhancing the ability to anticipate behavior. Observe problem-solving approaches. People develop habitual methods for handling challenges. Some tackle problems systematically, while others respond spontaneously or emotionally. Repeated observation of problem-solving methods allows predictions about how an individual will react to new challenges. Understanding these approaches improves communication, collaboration, and strategic planning. Integrate emotional responses. Behavior is strongly influenced by emotion. Identify patterns in emotional expression, such as consistent frustration with delays, enthusiasm in creative tasks, or calmness under pressure. Emotional patterns guide predictions of behavior in situations that trigger similar feelings. Recognizing these trends enhances accuracy in anticipating reactions. Consider social interactions. Patterns in how someone engages with others reveal preferences, boundaries, and strategies. Some people consistently assert leadership, others remain cooperative, and some may withdraw in conflict. Observing these tendencies provides insight into relational behavior and allows anticipation of likely responses in group dynamics or negotiations. Track routines and habits. Daily routines, work habits, and lifestyle choices reflect behavioral patterns. How a person structures time, prioritizes tasks, or interacts with technology often correlates with broader decision-making and response patterns. Observing these routines reveals tendencies that can be anticipated in new or stressful situations. Identify stress responses. People often display consistent behaviors under pressure. Some become silent, others become more vocal, and some exhibit physical tension or agitation. Recognizing these patterns allows for prediction of behavior during future stress, enabling preparation and informed responses in interactions or negotiations. Monitor physical cues. Movements, posture, and gestures often reflect habitual behaviors and attitudes. A person who regularly crosses arms during discussion may demonstrate protective or evaluative tendencies. Repeated observation of such cues builds understanding of underlying disposition and anticipated behavior. Observe learning and adaptation. People respond differently to feedback and new information. Some adjust quickly, others resist change. By noticing how someone reacts to guidance, correction, or innovation, you can predict how they will handle future situations requiring flexibility or adaptation. Behavioral patterns in learning reflect openness, resilience, and receptiveness. Consider energy levels and engagement. Behavioral patterns often correlate with levels of energy, focus, and engagement. Observing when someone is most attentive, motivated, or distracted allows anticipation of performance and responsiveness. Energy-related patterns reveal potential consistency in behavior across tasks and contexts. Track risk-taking behavior. Individuals display characteristic approaches to uncertainty and risk. Some embrace challenges with confidence, others proceed cautiously, and some avoid risk entirely. Repeated observation of these tendencies allows prediction of responses to unfamiliar or high-stakes situations. Understanding risk patterns informs strategic engagement and interaction. Integrate cultural and personal context. Behavior is shaped by social norms, cultural background, and personal values. Recognize the influence of these factors on patterns to interpret actions accurately. Context ensures behavioral predictions are grounded in realistic expectations rather than assumptions or stereotypes. Observe emotional regulation. Some people manage emotions consistently, others fluctuate under pressure. Recognizing patterns in emotional control provides insight into likely reactions in conflict, negotiation, or high-pressure environments. Predicting behavior requires attention to consistency in emotional regulation strategies. Track sequential behaviors. Behavior often unfolds in predictable sequences. One action may trigger another, forming a chain of habitual responses. Observing sequences over time reveals internal logic and allows anticipation of subsequent actions in similar scenarios. Sequential patterns increase predictive reliability. Reflect and validate observations. After interactions, compare anticipated actions with actual outcomes. Note where predictions were accurate and where discrepancies occurred. Reflection refines pattern recognition, strengthens accuracy, and improves understanding of nuances in behavior over time. Develop ethical application. Identifying patterns should be used to improve communication, collaboration, and understanding, rather than to manipulate or exploit. Ethical observation fosters trust, strengthens relationships, and ensures behavioral insight serves constructive purposes. Integrate behavioral pattern recognition with other cues. Combine observations of gestures, tone, facial expressions, and microexpressions with behavioral patterns to form a holistic understanding of intention and likely actions. Multi-channel integration enhances predictive capacity and relational insight. Practice consistently across varied situations. Observe behavior in multiple contexts, environments, and social groups. The diversity of observation builds flexibility, sharpens detection of recurring patterns, and improves prediction in new circumstances. Broad exposure accelerates mastery. Maintain patience and discipline. Recognizing patterns requires repeated observation, analysis, and reflection. Accuracy grows gradually, with dedication and attention to detail. Long-term consistency in practice ensures a reliable skill set for anticipating human behavior. Mastering behavioral patterns provides a strategic advantage in understanding others. Through careful observation, systematic tracking, reflection, and ethical application, one can anticipate actions, respond appropriately, and navigate social interactions effectively. Repeated practice strengthens perception, insight, and predictive capability, allowing for clearer communication, stronger relationships, and informed decision-making. The ability to identify and interpret behavioral patterns empowers the observer to act with confidence, empathy, and strategic awareness in any interpersonal scenario. Chapter 9. Build intuition by practicing awareness daily. Intuition is the mind's ability to sense what is true or likely without relying solely on conscious reasoning. It develops through consistent awareness, careful observation, and reflection on experience. Daily practice of awareness strengthens this skill, allowing you to pick up subtle cues, detect hidden truths, and make decisions with clarity and confidence. Developing intuition is not a mystical gift, but a disciplined process that combines attention, reflection, and ethical understanding. It allows you to navigate life more effectively, respond to people more accurately, and make choices with greater insight. Start by cultivating present moment awareness. Focus fully on what is happening around you without distraction or judgment. Observe people, environments, and events carefully, noting small details that often go unnoticed. Awareness of subtle changes in behavior, tone, gesture, and expression sharpens perception and builds the foundation for intuitive understanding. Pay attention to internal responses. Notice physical sensations, emotional reactions, and spontaneous thoughts as you observe interactions or situations. These internal signals often reflect subconscious processing of external information. By acknowledging and reflecting on these responses, you learn to trust the signals your mind sends and interpret them accurately. Practice consistent observation. Make it a daily habit to observe environments, people, and events in detail. Focus on noticing patterns, repeated behaviors, and subtle shifts that provide insight into what is happening beneath the surface. Repetition and consistency enhance the ability to detect meaningful information automatically over time. Reflect on observations regularly. Take time each day to review what you noticed, comparing initial impressions with outcomes or further developments. Reflection strengthens pattern recognition, builds memory of subtle cues, and improves judgment in similar future situations. Regular reflection converts passive observation into actionable intuition. Start small with simple situations. Observe familiar people or routine environments first. Track subtle cues such as posture, tone, facial expressions, or minor gestures. Begin to anticipate behavior or emotional response based on these cues. Gradually expand practice to more complex scenarios and unfamiliar individuals, increasing both scope and accuracy of intuitive insight. Integrate multiple sources of information. Intuition is most accurate when informed by observation of voice, gesture, microexpression, posture, and context. Combining these channels allows you to form a holistic understanding rather than relying on a single cue. Integration strengthens predictive ability and deepens comprehension of others' intentions. Develop self-awareness alongside observation. Understanding your own biases, emotional tendencies, and habitual reactions enhances intuitive accuracy. Awareness of how personal experience influences perception, prevents misinterpretation, and ensures judgments are based on reliable cues rather than projection. Self-awareness is essential for refining intuition ethically and effectively. Track patterns over time. Repeated observations of individuals and situations reveal predictable behaviors and responses. Notice what triggers certain reactions, how people manage emotions, and how situations evolve. Patterns provide a framework for anticipating actions and decisions, allowing your intuition to become increasingly precise. Use intuition to guide cautious action. When a subtle signal or gut feeling arises, test it carefully before responding. Observe reactions, gather additional cues, and make informed decisions. Intuition is most effective when paired with verification and practical application rather than impulsive action. Ethical consideration ensures that insight is used responsibly. Notice emotional energy. People emit subtle energy that conveys mood, intent, and receptivity. Sensitivity to this energy improves detection of unspoken feelings, emerging tension, or readiness to engage. Daily attention to shifts in energy heightens awareness, allowing you to respond with understanding and accuracy. Practice mindfulness exercises. Techniques such as focused breathing, attention to bodily sensations, or conscious observation of surroundings enhance perceptual clarity. Mindfulness trains the brain to notice subtleties that would otherwise be overlooked, laying the groundwork for intuitive insight. Engage in reflective journaling. Document observations, impressions, and internal responses. Review entries to identify recurring patterns, successful interpretations, and areas needing improvement. Journaling consolidates learning and allows conscious integration of intuitive experiences into daily decision-making. Observe without judgment. Avoid labeling observations immediately or making assumptions based on limited information. Simply notice gestures, expressions, tone, and situational context. Neutral observation ensures clarity and prevents personal bias from distorting intuitive insights. Over time, this practice sharpens perception and strengthens confidence in subtle cues. Practice empathy consistently. Understanding emotions and perspectives of others deepens intuitive ability. When you focus on feeling what someone else may be experiencing, your mind connects with subtle signals that reveal hidden motivations and unspoken thoughts. Empathy and intuition reinforce each other, improving relational understanding. Develop patience. Intuition grows gradually through experience and repeated attention. Immediate understanding may not always occur, but consistent practice over weeks and months strengthens ability to perceive subtle truths. Patience allows observation to mature into accurate, reliable insight. Test intuitive impressions. Compare gut feelings or initial perceptions with actual outcomes. Note patterns where intuition aligns with reality and where it does not. Adjust observation techniques and internal interpretations based on these comparisons. Systematic feedback improves the accuracy of intuitive judgment over time. Expand awareness to social dynamics. Observe interactions between people, not just individual behavior. Notice group energy, conversational patterns, and shifts in tone or posture. Social context provides additional information that enhances intuitive perception and predicts outcomes in complex situations. Pay attention to timing. Subtle shifts often occur just before actions, decisions, or emotional responses. Noticing these precursors allows anticipation of behavior and provides an opportunity to respond thoughtfully. Awareness of timing sharpens predictive skill and improves responsiveness. Develop ethical discernment. Intuition is a tool for understanding and connection, not manipulation. Use insight to foster trust, provide support, and improve communication. Ethical practice ensures that awareness serves positive outcomes and strengthens relationships, rather than exploiting information. Commit to daily practice. Intuition is like a muscle that strengthens with use. Integrate observation, reflection, mindfulness, and empathetic engagement into everyday life. Continuous attention, even in small interactions, accumulates into powerful perceptual skill over time. Integrate intuition with reasoning. Intuition complements logic and analysis. Use subtle cues to guide decisions, verify perceptions, and anticipate outcomes. Combining instinctive insight with conscious thought provides balanced, informed action that is both accurate and adaptable. Apply intuition to improve personal growth. Awareness of subtle cues in self and others informs choices, enhances relationships, and guides development of habits, communication, and emotional intelligence. Regular practice cultivates resilience, adaptability, and confidence in navigating life with clarity. Through daily awareness and deliberate observation, intuition becomes a reliable guide. Attending to subtle cues, reflecting on experience, integrating multiple sources of information, and practicing ethical interpretation strengthens the ability to sense hidden truth. Over time, intuitive perception supports better decision-making, deeper relationships, and effective navigation of complex situations. The disciplined practice of awareness transforms perception into insight, insight into understanding, and understanding into action that is thoughtful, ethical, and powerful. Chapter 10. Detect energy shifts to sense emotions. Energy is the subtle but powerful force that conveys emotion before words or gestures are expressed. Every person emits a unique emotional energy that fluctuates in response to internal feelings, thoughts, and external circumstances. Detecting these energy shifts provides insight into emotional states, intentions, and reactions that may not be openly communicated. Learning to sense energy requires focus, sensitivity, and disciplined observation. The ability to recognize these changes allows for deeper understanding, stronger connection, and more effective communication with others. Begin by tuning into physical sensations. Emotions often manifest in subtle shifts in posture, tension, or movement. A sudden stiffening of the shoulders, a change in breathing rhythm, or a shift in weight can indicate an emotional shift. Observing these signs provides a window into the energy someone is experiencing and allows anticipation of their state before verbal acknowledgement. Pay attention to facial energy. Expressions convey a significant portion of emotional energy, even when subtle. Microexpressions, fleeting changes in the eyes, lips, or forehead, reveal shifts in mood or thought. Observing these subtle changes in combination with overall body energy strengthens the accuracy of perception and allows detection of concealed emotions. Notice vocal energy. Tone, pitch, pace, and volume fluctuate with emotional states. Excitement or enthusiasm often energizes the voice, while stress or discomfort can produce tension or strain. Recognizing these changes enhances understanding of underlying emotion and prepares for appropriate response. Track rhythm and movement. People often exhibit energy through repetitive or unconscious movement. Foot tapping, finger drumming, or shifting in a chair can indicate nervous energy or impatience. Smooth, fluid movement may signal calm, confidence, or contentment. Observing rhythm in combination with other cues provides a more complete picture of emotional state. Observe group dynamics. Energy shifts are often visible in interactions with others. Collective changes in mood, tension, or excitement can influence individuals and reveal unspoken emotional trends. Detecting energy in groups allows insight into social dynamics, anticipation of responses, and recognition of relational shifts. Focus on breathing patterns. Changes in breath often accompany emotional shifts. Rapid, shallow breathing may signal anxiety, fear, or excitement, while slow, steady breathing indicates calm or control. Attention to breathing provides direct access to emotional energy and strengthens intuitive understanding of mood. Integrate sensory observation. Subtle cues in posture, gesture, tone, and expression combine to create an overall energy signature. Detecting these cues in combination allows perception of emotional changes even when individual signals are weak. Sensory integration improves accuracy and clarity in recognizing emotional states. Develop baseline awareness. Everyone has a natural energy pattern that reflects their typical emotional state. Observe familiar behavior and energy levels to establish a baseline. Deviations from this baseline indicate shifts in emotion, stress, or engagement. Tracking baseline variations ensures precise recognition of meaningful changes. Notice timing of shifts. Emotional energy often changes before words or actions occur. Detecting these early signals allows anticipation of reactions, understanding of unspoken feelings, and more informed responses. Timing is crucial for interpreting energy accurately and responding appropriately in dynamic situations. Observe congruence between energy and behavior. Alignments between body language, tone, and overall energy often reflect genuine emotion. Inconsistencies may indicate concealed feelings, hesitation, or internal conflict. Detecting congruence improves understanding and reduces misinterpretation of cues. Practice emotional resonance. Allow yourself to feel subtle shifts in energy without judgment. Developing sensitivity to another person's emotional field enhances perception and connection. This practice strengthens empathy, intuition, and the ability to respond with awareness and clarity. Track energy in different contexts. Emotional energy may vary depending on environment, situation, or relationship. Observe patterns across multiple contexts to detect stable tendencies and transient shifts. Contextual awareness allows for nuanced understanding and accurate interpretation of energy changes. Pay attention to microsignals. Subtle changes in facial muscles, eye movement or posture often precede overt emotional expression. Detecting these microsignals allows early recognition of emotional shifts and provides a predictive advantage in interactions. Reflect on observed energy. After interactions, review shifts you noticed and compare with outcomes or verbal confirmation. Identify which signals accurately indicated emotion and which were ambiguous. Reflection refines perception and strengthens the ability to detect emotional energy reliably. Integrate with previous knowledge. Combine energy awareness with prior observations of behavior, tone, and gestures to create a holistic understanding. This multi-layered approach enhances predictive insight and deepens relational comprehension. Practice ethical use of energy detection. Observing and interpreting energy should always serve empathy, understanding, and constructive engagement. Avoid manipulation or judgment, using insight to support communication and relationships positively. Ethical awareness ensures responsible application of this skill. Observe energy flow over time. Emotions are dynamic and evolve through interactions and experiences. Track how energy rises, falls, or shifts gradually during conversation, decision-making, or social exchange. Recognizing these patterns provides deeper insight into emotional stability, responsiveness, and underlying motivation. Notice resonance with your own energy. Emotional energy often interacts with personal presence, affecting perception and response. Recognizing how someone's energy influences you improves self-awareness, maintains objectivity, and enhances intuitive insight into their emotional state. Focus on clarity rather than assumption. Energy shifts provide information, not absolute truth. Use careful observation, cross-checking with other behavioral cues, and reflection to interpret energy accurately. Avoid jumping to conclusions, instead allowing patterns to inform understanding. Combine energy awareness with situational context. External circumstances, stresses, and social environment shape emotional energy. Recognize the influence of context when interpreting changes to ensure accurate, grounded perception. Apply energy detection to enhance communication. Understanding shifts in emotional energy allows adjustment of tone, approach, and response for more effective engagement. Responding appropriately to subtle energy changes improves connection, rapport, and mutual understanding. Practice daily observation. Consistent attention to emotional energy in diverse interactions strengthens sensitivity, recognition, and predictive skill. Daily practice, reflection, and mindful engagement gradually build mastery of energy perception. Recognize energy clusters. Observe multiple simultaneous cues, including posture, gesture, expression, and vocal tone, to identify coherent patterns of emotion. Clusters provide a more reliable signal than isolated indicators and reveal complex emotional states. Develop patience and focus. Detecting energy shifts requires sustained attention and calm observation. Avoid distraction or rushing, allowing subtle cues to emerge naturally and provide insight into emotional currents. Apply insights constructively. Observed energy shifts should guide empathetic engagement, informed decision-making, and thoughtful interaction. Using perception ethically improves relationships, communication, and understanding without coercion or manipulation. Through disciplined observation of energy shifts, sensitivity to subtle cues, integration with context, and ethical reflection, it becomes possible to sense emotions accurately before they are verbalized. Mastery of this skill strengthens perception, empathy, and communication, allowing anticipation of feelings, responsive engagement, and deeper connection with others. Over time, the ability to detect and interpret energy enhances personal insight, relational intelligence, and effectiveness in navigating social and emotional landscapes. Chapter 11. Read eyes to understand real thoughts. The eyes are often described as windows to the mind because they convey information that words and gestures may not. Observing eyes carefully provides insight into emotions, intentions, and unspoken thoughts. People communicate a great deal through eye movement, focus, and expression, and learning to interpret these cues can significantly improve understanding and interaction. Reading eyes is not about jumping to conclusions, but about disciplined attention, consistent observation, and ethical interpretation. The practice strengthens perception, builds empathy, and allows for more informed decisions in social and professional contexts. Begin by observing eye contact. How someone maintains or avoids eye contact can reveal levels of confidence, interest, discomfort, or honesty. Steady, natural eye contact often indicates engagement and openness, whereas frequent shifting or avoidance may suggest nervousness, hesitation, or concealment. Tracking patterns in eye contact over time provides reliable indicators of underlying emotional states and intentions. Notice pupil changes. Pupil dilation or constriction occurs unconsciously in response to emotional and cognitive states. Dilated pupils often reflect interest, excitement, or attraction, while constriction can indicate discomfort, stress, or focus. Observing these changes alongside facial expressions and body language enhances understanding of real thoughts and feelings. Pay attention to blinking. Frequency and pattern of blinking can indicate tension, stress, or cognitive processing. Rapid blinking may signal anxiety or uncertainty, while slow, measured blinking often reflects calmness or contemplation. Tracking blinking alongside other eye behaviors provides additional layers of insight into a person's internal state. Observe eye direction. The direction of gaze can reveal thought patterns, memory recall, and imaginative processing. Looking upward may suggest visualization or creative thinking, while sideward glances often indicate recall of specific information or attention to external stimuli. Tracking gaze direction over multiple contexts helps anticipate thought processes and intentions. Study microexpressions around the eyes. Subtle movements such as squints, raised eyebrows, or brief narrowing of the eyes often reflect concealed emotions. These fleeting expressions appear for fractions of a second, but provide significant insight into feelings that may not be verbally expressed. Detecting and interpreting these microexpressions strengthens the ability to read underlying thoughts. Track symmetry and tension. Uneven movements or tension in the muscles around the eyes can indicate discomfort, skepticism, or internal conflict. Symmetrical, relaxed expressions often reflect authenticity and openness. Observing these nuances allows for a more nuanced understanding of a person's emotional state and mindset. Focus on eye engagement. The intensity, focus, and leveliness of a gaze often reflect the depth of attention, interest, or emotion. A bright, alert gaze suggests curiosity and engagement, while a dull or unfocused look may indicate disinterest, fatigue, or detachment. Awareness of eye energy adds richness to perception and informs response strategies. Integrate context. Eye behavior should be interpreted within the situational, social, and emotional context. Cultural norms, Lighting and environment influence how eyes are used and expressed. Observing context ensures accurate interpretation and prevents misreading cues based solely on personal assumptions. Observe changes over time. Repeated interactions reveal patterns in eye behavior, including consistency and variation. Sudden changes in gaze, focus, or expression often indicate shifts in mood, attention, or thought processes. Tracking these temporal changes enhances predictive insight and relational understanding. Combine eye observation with other cues. Eyes alone provide insight, but integration with tone, gesture, posture, and energy creates a more complete picture. Cross-channel observation ensures accuracy, reduces misinterpretation, and strengthens understanding of intentions and emotions. Develop patience and focus. Reading eyes requires sustained attention and subtle observation. Avoid jumping to conclusions or making assumptions based on a single glance. Patience allows patterns and nuances to emerge naturally, improving accuracy and reliability. Practice ethical perception. Interpreting eyes should serve understanding, empathy, and constructive interaction. Avoid manipulation, exploitation, or judgment based on observed cues. Ethical use strengthens trust and maintains integrity in relationships while enhancing perceptual skill. Notice eye movement under stress. People often exhibit characteristic gaze behaviors when anxious, pressured, or uncertain. Rapid shifts, avoidance, or excessive blinking may indicate internal conflict, fear, or hesitation. Recognizing these stress-related cues allows anticipation of behavior and informed response. Track attention and focus. Direction and intensity of gaze often reveal what someone values, prioritizes, or notices in a situation. Observation of eye focus helps predict actions, responses, and engagement. Repeated practice strengthens ability to detect what captures attention and underlying motivations. Observe micro-reactions to stimuli. Eyes often respond subtly to verbal statements, gestures, or environmental cues. Small changes in dilation, movement, or expression reveal immediate emotional responses and provide clues to thought processes. Detection of these micro-reactions improves real-time understanding and interaction. Integrate reflective practice. After interactions, review observed eye behavior and compare with actual outcomes or verbal confirmation. Reflection identifies patterns, validates interpretations, and refines observational skill over time. Systematic reflection ensures consistent improvement in perception. Develop intuitive connection. Sensitivity to eye behavior enhances emotional and cognitive intuition. Repeated observation trains perception to notice subtle signals and anticipate unspoken thoughts. Intuition complements rational interpretation, allowing for balanced and insightful responses. Observe patterns in eye engagement across relationships. How someone uses their gaze with different individuals or groups often reflects social comfort, trust, or hierarchy awareness. Recognizing these patterns provides insight into relational dynamics and predicted behavior. Notice emotional leakage through eyes. Some emotions are difficult to conceal completely and appear briefly through eye expression. Sadness, excitement, doubt, or discomfort often manifest in subtle eye shifts, even when other cues are controlled. Detection of these fleeting signals provides access to authentic emotional states. Practice integration with communication. Eye observation enhances listening, questioning, and conversational responsiveness. Recognizing thoughts or feelings through eye behavior allows for more empathetic, attentive, and effective communication. Skillful integration improves relational outcomes and personal influence. Apply observation in real-world settings. Use eye behavior analysis in meetings, social interactions, negotiations, and personal relationships. Practice recognition in varied environments to strengthen adaptability, accuracy, and insight. Real-world application ensures practical mastery of observation skills. Maintain consistency in practice. Accurate interpretation of eye behavior develops gradually through repeated, focused observation. Regular attention builds memory of subtle cues, pattern recognition, and confidence in interpretation. Consistency ensures intuitive understanding and reliable perception. Notice synchronization with other nonverbal cues. Eye behavior often aligns with facial expressions, posture, and gesture. Observing congruence strengthens understanding of authenticity, intention, and emotional state. Detecting inconsistencies highlights areas for careful attention or inquiry. Develop long-term sensitivity. The ability to read eyes improves with continuous engagement, ethical practice, and reflective observation. Over time, perceptual accuracy, emotional understanding, and anticipatory insight increase, enabling more nuanced and effective interactions. Through disciplined observation, reflection, and ethical application, the eyes become a reliable source of insight into real thoughts and emotions. Tracking gaze, pupil changes, blinking, microexpressions, and patterns across time allows for accurate perception of internal states. Mastering this skill strengthens empathy, communication, and relational effectiveness, providing a powerful tool to navigate social and personal dynamics with clarity, understanding, and confidence. Chapter 12. Notice subtle movements to anticipate motives. Subtle movements reveal much more than words can convey. They are often unconscious indicators of intention, emotion, or thought. By carefully observing small actions, shifts in posture, or minor gestures, it is possible to anticipate motives before they are openly expressed. These movements, though fleeting or seemingly insignificant, are consistent reflections of internal states. Developing the ability to notice and interpret them requires focused attention, repeated practice, and ethical application. Mastering this skill enhances understanding, communication, and strategic awareness in every social interaction. Start by observing hands. How a person uses their hands, whether fidgeting, tapping, or resting, often reflects emotional state or engagement. Tension in the fingers may indicate stress, hesitation, or suppressed emotion. Confident, open gestures may signal readiness, sincerity, or intention to act. Tracking hand movements provides insight into underlying motives and thought processes. Pay attention to posture shifts. Subtle changes in the way someone sits, stands, or leans often reveal comfort levels, receptiveness, or intent. Leaning forward slightly may indicate curiosity or engagement, while shifting backward can signal discomfort, withdrawal, or hesitation. Observing posture over time helps anticipate responses and intentions in dynamic interactions. Notice foot and leg movements. Foot tapping, shifting weight, or crossing and uncrossing legs can reflect impatience, anxiety, or readiness to move. These lower body movements often precede verbal or overt behavioral cues and offer predictive insight into forthcoming actions or decisions. Observe head movements. Slight tilts, nods, or rotations often indicate attention, agreement, or contemplation. Rapid or inconsistent head movements may suggest uncertainty or hidden thoughts. Tracking these subtleties across interactions strengthens perception of motives and intentions. Focus on eye movement in conjunction with gestures. Eyes often coordinate with subtle movements to express unspoken thoughts. Quick glances toward objects, people, or exits may indicate interest, avoidance, or strategic consideration. Integrating eye behavior with body movement improves predictive accuracy. Detect micro-adjustments in clothing or accessories. Small adjustments such as smoothing a sleeve, touching a necklace, or straightening a collar can reflect internal tension, self-consciousness, or preparation for action. These gestures often signal underlying motives before verbal communication occurs. Monitor breathing patterns. Minor changes in rhythm, depth, or speed provide information about emotional or cognitive states. Shallow or rapid breathing may indicate stress, excitement, or nervous anticipation. Observing these subtle physiological movements adds depth to understanding motives. Observe facial micro-movements. Even small twitches, eyebrow lifts, or lip shifts provide cues about underlying thought or emotion. These subtle expressions often leak intention before it is consciously expressed. Detecting these movements requires focused attention and careful observation over time. Track repetitive small movements. Patterns such as tapping fingers, bouncing a leg, or shifting weight repeatedly often correlate with habitual emotional responses or decision-making tendencies. Recognizing repeated subtle actions allows anticipation of behavior and potential motives. Integrate context with movement. Subtle gestures gain meaning when interpreted within situational, relational, and environmental context. The same movement can convey curiosity, frustration, or strategy depending on surrounding circumstances. Contextual awareness ensures accurate interpretation of subtle behavior. Observe timing of subtle movements. Movements often precede verbal statements, decisions, or shifts in engagement. Detecting these precursors allows anticipation of behavior and provides a strategic advantage in communication and interaction. Timing is critical in connecting movement to underlying motive. Notice consistency and deviation. Consistent small movements indicate habitual tendencies, while deviations signal change, discomfort, or hidden intention. Observing both regularity and variation allows insight into evolving motives and priorities. Pay attention to interactions between movements. Coordinated or discordant gestures, posture, and facial expressions often indicate congruence or conflict between thoughts and actions. Noticing these interactions reveals whether intentions align with outward behavior. Develop reflective observation. After interactions, review subtle movements noted and consider their correlation with outcomes or statements. Reflecting improves accuracy, strengthens predictive skill, and builds pattern recognition for anticipating future behavior. Practice ethical attention. Observing subtle movements should serve understanding, empathy, and communication, not manipulation. Ethical observation strengthens relationships, trust, and personal integrity, while providing insight into motives. Track transitions in movement. How someone shifts from one posture, gesture, or micro-behavior to another reveals adaptation, decision-making, or intention to act. Observing transitions over time uncovers underlying motives and anticipates likely next actions. Combine multiple cues for insight. Integrating subtle movements with facial expressions, tone, gaze, and energy creates a complete picture of motives and intentions. Multi-channel observation reduces error and enhances interpretive accuracy. Notice physiological signals, minor tension in muscles, slight sweating, or changes in skin tone often accompany subtle movements. These physiological cues provide additional evidence of emotional state and intent. Tracking these signs enhances understanding of hidden motives. Observe group interactions. Subtle movements within a group reveal relational dynamics, influence, and intention. Watching how individuals adjust posture, gesture, or gaze in response to others uncovers social motives and strategies. Maintain patience and sustained focus. Subtle movements require consistent attention to detect and interpret accurately. Avoid rushing or jumping to conclusions, allowing patterns to emerge naturally over time. Patience cultivates precision and confidence in anticipating motives. Apply insight to communication. Recognizing subtle movements allows adjustments in tone, approach, and engagement to align with others' motives. Responding with awareness enhances relational effectiveness, trust, and influence. Practice consistently across environments. Observe subtle movements in different social, professional, and casual settings to strengthen adaptability, detection, and interpretive skill. Broad exposure builds comprehensive understanding of human behavior. Integrate reflection and learning. Continuously review observed patterns and outcomes to refine perception of subtle movements. Systematic reflection enhances intuitive understanding of intentions and improves decision-making. Through disciplined observation of subtle movements, attention to context, reflection, and ethical practice, it becomes possible to anticipate motives before they are verbalized. By focusing on hands, posture, eyes, micro-gestures, and physiological cues, understanding deepens, relationships improve, and strategic engagement becomes more effective. Over time, noticing and interpreting these small behaviors transforms perceptual skill into a reliable tool for predicting intention, navigating social dynamics, and responding with insight and confidence. Chapter 13. Practice silence to observe people clearly. Silence is one of the most powerful tools for understanding people because it allows you to observe without interference or distraction. When you stop speaking, you create space to notice behaviors, tone, gestures, and energy that are otherwise masked by conversation. Practicing silence is not passive. It is an active discipline that trains attention, enhances perception, and cultivates patience. Through deliberate quietness, you become attuned to subtleties that reveal true thoughts and emotions. Observing others in silence provides information that is often overlooked, giving you a clearer understanding of intentions, feelings, and dynamics in any interaction. Begin by consciously reducing verbal contributions in conversations. Speak only when necessary and allow others to fill the space. This practice shifts focus from your own words to careful observation of what others communicate through their behavior. Notice how people move, how they pause, the rhythm of their speech, and the energy they project when they think they are unobserved. Pay attention to micro-reactions that occur in the absence of your verbal input. Small facial expressions, fleeting gestures, and changes in posture often reveal discomfort, interest, excitement, or hesitation. Silence magnifies these cues because there is no dialogue to mask or distract from them. Observing these micro-reactions develops a deeper understanding of underlying motives and emotions. Observe tone and pace of speech. When you remain silent, subtle shifts in another person's tone, tempo, or emphasis become noticeable. A slight hesitation, a change in pitch, or a subtle increase in volume conveys more than the words themselves. Silence allows these nuances to register fully, providing insight into unspoken thoughts. Notice body language in detail. When you are quiet, you can track small movements, gestures, and shifts that reveal comfort, anxiety, or intention. Crossed arms, leaning forward, or adjusting clothing are subtle indicators of mindset or emotional state. By practicing stillness and observation, you increase your sensitivity to these cues. Focus on eye behavior. Silence draws attention to how someone uses their eyes, whether they avoid contact, glance at surroundings, or maintain steady focus. Eye movement, combined with the absence of verbal distraction, provides information about focus, emotion, and intent. Observing these patterns consistently builds predictive insight. Track energy levels. People emit subtle energy in conversation and in silence. When you stop speaking, you can sense changes in tension, enthusiasm, or discomfort. Energy often fluctuates in response to unspoken thoughts and feelings. Detecting these fluctuations enhances perception of moods and motives that might otherwise remain hidden. Practice patience while observing. Silence requires restraint and attentiveness. It is not enough to stop speaking. You must also actively focus on noticing and interpreting what is occurring around you. Patience allows time for behaviors, expressions, and energy to reveal consistent patterns rather than isolated reactions. Observe interactions without influence. When you refrain from speaking, people behave more naturally because they are not responding to your verbal prompts. This provides a clearer view of genuine behavior and intention. Observing in this way reduces bias introduced by your own participation and allows more accurate interpretation. Take note of relational dynamics. Silence makes it easier to detect who influences whom, who leads, who follows, and who is disengaged. Small cues in attention, body orientation, and responsiveness become more apparent when your own voice is absent. Understanding these dynamics provides insight into group behavior and social patterns. Reflect on internal responses. Notice your own thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations during periods of silence. Awareness of your reactions enhances objectivity and ensures your observations are not clouded by personal bias or assumptions. This reflection strengthens the link between observation and interpretation. Observe timing and rhythm. Silence allows you to detect pauses, hesitation, or acceleration in speech and movement. These timing cues often indicate contemplation, decision-making, or emotional shifts. Recognizing rhythm helps anticipate next actions or responses. Track patterns over multiple interactions. Practicing silence repeatedly across different situations builds a comprehensive understanding of behavior, energy, and expression. Patterns emerge that reveal consistent traits, decision-making tendencies, and emotional responses. This longitudinal observation enhances predictive skill. Notice subtle environmental interactions. People respond unconsciously to surroundings, and silence makes these responses easier to detect. Shifts in gaze toward doors, windows, or other people, minor adjustments in posture or interactions with objects reveal focus, distraction, or priorities. Combine sensory perception. Observe gestures, tone, facial expressions, and energy simultaneously. Silence enhances your ability to integrate these cues into a cohesive understanding of behavior and intent. Multisensory observation increases accuracy and depth of insight. Use silence to foster listening. When you are quiet, you can hear both verbal content and subtle vocal inflections more clearly. Paying close attention to what is said and how it is said provides insight into feelings, confidence, and unspoken considerations. Notice contradictions. Silence highlights discrepancies between words, expressions, and energy. If someone says one thing but their gestures, posture, or energy suggest another, you gain a clearer picture of true intention. Detecting these contradictions helps avoid misinterpretation and informs more strategic engagement. Develop ethical awareness. Observation through silence is a tool for understanding, empathy, and constructive communication. Avoid using insight gained to manipulate or exploit. Ethical observation strengthens trust, relationships, and personal integrity. Apply insight to guide interaction. Observing people quietly allows you to adapt responses, choose timing for conversation, and engage more effectively. Responding based on careful observation rather than impulse improves communication and relational outcomes. Reflect regularly on silent observation. Review behaviors, expressions, and patterns noticed during periods of quiet. Compare these observations with outcomes to refine understanding, increase accuracy, and develop intuitive insight. Practice consistently. Regularly integrate silence into interactions to build skill, perception, and self-discipline. Daily attention strengthens observation, enhances empathy, and improves understanding of human behavior. Through consistent practice of silence, deliberate attention, reflection, and ethical application, you cultivate the ability to observe people clearly and accurately. Silence transforms observation into insight, providing access to unspoken thoughts, motives, and emotions. Mastery of this skill improves communication, empathy, and relational awareness, while enabling precise anticipation of behavior. Over time, the discipline of quiet observation develops clarity, understanding, and confidence in navigating complex social dynamics. Chapter 14. Connect observations to form accurate conclusions. Forming accurate conclusions from observations requires more than simply noticing behaviors, expressions, or energy shifts. It demands disciplined attention, critical thinking, and the ability to synthesize multiple cues into a coherent understanding. Observing alone provides data, but connecting these pieces thoughtfully transforms insight into actionable understanding. The process involves careful analysis, comparison across contexts, and recognition of patterns while maintaining ethical responsibility and humility in interpretation. Accurate conclusions allow informed decisions, effective communication, and deeper understanding of people and situations. Begin by systematically organizing what you observe. Each gesture, expression, tone, or energy shift is a data point. Record mentally or physically the details of what you notice. Observation is most effective when it is deliberate, consistent, and detailed. Organizing information prevents confusion, allows patterns to emerge, and ensures that conclusions are based on comprehensive evidence rather than isolated incidents. Compare cues across multiple channels. Observing body language, facial expression, tone of voice, and energy together provides a more complete picture than focusing on a single aspect. Alignment among these channels often confirms authenticity, while inconsistencies may indicate hesitation, concealment, or internal conflict. Cross-channel comparison strengthens the reliability of interpretations. Look for patterns over time. Repeated behaviors, reactions, and energy shifts reveal tendencies and consistent traits. Single instances may be misleading, but repeated observations allow identification of stable patterns, helping anticipate future behavior. Tracking patterns ensures conclusions are grounded in ongoing evidence rather than fleeting moments. Consider context carefully. Every observation is influenced by environment, relationships, and situational factors. A gesture or expression may have a different meaning depending on the setting, cultural norms, or stresses present. Interpreting behavior without context increases the risk of error. Integrating contextual understanding allows conclusions to reflect the real meaning of observed actions. Evaluate congruence between verbal and nonverbal cues. Words provide information, but nonverbal signals often reveal true emotions and intentions. When these align, conclusions are likely accurate. When they contradict, investigate further and consider subtle movements, energy shifts, and microexpressions to clarify intent. Observing congruence is essential for drawing valid inferences. Weigh evidence carefully. Avoid giving undue weight to a single cue or action. Each piece of observation contributes to a larger picture. Conclusions should emerge from the accumulation of evidence rather than assumptions or wishful thinking. This disciplined approach reduces error and enhances clarity of understanding. Notice deviations from baseline behavior. Every person has typical gestures, energy levels, and expressions. Shifts away from baseline often indicate a change in emotion, intention, or focus. Observing deviations provides early insight into evolving states and allows for timely interpretation and response. Integrate insights from multiple interactions. Observing someone in different settings or conversations helps confirm patterns and reveals consistent tendencies. Variation across contexts provides a more nuanced understanding, distinguishing between habitual traits and situational reactions. Repeated interaction strengthens confidence in the conclusions drawn. Assess emotional intensity and energy flow. The strength, duration, and direction of emotional signals influence interpretation. Subtle signs may suggest minor concern or fleeting interest, while strong, sustained signals indicate deeper emotion or intention. Evaluating intensity allows prioritization of attention and focus in decision-making or engagement. Practice reflective analysis. After each interaction, review observations and consider what they indicate. Reflecting on the accuracy of prior conclusions allows refinement of perception, adjustment of assumptions, and improvement in future interpretation. Reflection transforms observation into wisdom and enhances the reliability of understanding. Avoid assumptions or judgment. Conclusions should emerge from evidence rather than personal bias or expectation. Observing without projecting personal interpretations ensures clarity and reduces misreading of intentions or feelings. Maintaining objectivity strengthens accuracy and fosters ethical understanding. Connect subtle cues to overarching patterns. Individual gestures, expressions, or energy shifts gain meaning when linked to larger trends. Small movements, repeated microexpressions, or consistent behavioral patterns collectively reveal motives, preferences, and emotional states. Seeing the big picture from small cues develops a comprehensive understanding. Identify cause and effect relationships. Observing reactions to specific stimuli or actions helps determine underlying drivers of behavior. Linking observed cues to triggers, events, or contexts clarifies motives and informs predictions about future responses. Recognizing causality enhances practical insight and application. Balance intuition with evidence. Developing the ability to sense intentions and emotions is valuable, but conclusions should rest on observable facts. Intuition can guide attention toward relevant cues, while systematic evaluation confirms accuracy. Combining instinct with evidence ensures both sensitivity and reliability. Track interactions between multiple individuals. Observing how people respond to each other reveals relational patterns, influence, and power dynamics. Subtle adjustments in posture, gaze, or tone often indicate unspoken hierarchy or alignment. Connecting these observations provides insight into group behavior and social context. Test hypotheses discreetly. When possible, observe how individuals respond to variations in conversation, gesture, or environment. Subtle changes can confirm or challenge conclusions drawn from prior observation. Testing in this careful, ethical manner strengthens confidence in interpretations. Recognize emotional leakage. Sometimes people unconsciously reveal thoughts or intentions through microexpressions, slight gestures, or tone shifts. These unintentional signals often indicate genuine feelings or motives. Incorporating awareness of leakage into analysis improves the accuracy of conclusions. Maintain ethical responsibility. Conclusions derived from observation should be used to understand, communicate, or assist, not to manipulate or exploit. Ethical application ensures trust, integrity, and constructive use of perceptual skill. Responsible practice sustains long-term effectiveness in reading people. Practice patience in connecting observations. Conclusions rarely emerge instantly. They develop through repeated attention, reflection, and integration of multiple cues. Allowing time for patterns to emerge prevents rushed judgments and improves accuracy. Patience cultivates deeper understanding and stronger predictive skill. Integrate learning from past experiences. Each interaction adds to a growing knowledge base. Reflecting on previous observations, successes, and misinterpretations sharpens the ability to connect current cues to accurate conclusions. Cumulative learning strengthens perceptual skill and decision-making. Observe alignment between verbal content and subtle behavior. Subtle behaviors often clarify or contradict spoken words. Linking gestures, tone, posture, and energy to verbal statements allows verification of authenticity, intention, and underlying emotion. Alignment provides confidence in conclusions, while discrepancies highlight areas for further observation. Apply conclusions to improve communication. Insight gained from connecting observations guides responses, choice of words, timing, and engagement strategies. Thoughtful application enhances understanding, trust, and relational effectiveness while avoiding misunderstandings. Through systematic observation, careful integration of cues, context evaluation, pattern recognition, and ethical reflection, it is possible to draw accurate and meaningful conclusions about people and situations. Connecting observations transforms raw perception into actionable insight, enhancing decision-making, communication, and understanding. Practicing this skill consistently strengthens intuition, builds relational intelligence, and allows for anticipation of behavior and motives with confidence, clarity, and empathy. Chapter 15. Question assumptions to avoid misreading others. Questioning assumptions is a critical skill for accurately understanding others and avoiding misinterpretation. Every person brings unique experiences, perspectives, and intentions to interactions, and relying on preconceived ideas often leads to flawed conclusions. Assumptions can create blind spots, distort perception, and generate misunderstandings. Developing the habit of questioning what you believe to be true allows for clearer observation, deeper empathy, and more reliable interpretation of behavior. This discipline requires self-awareness, critical thinking, and consistent reflection to recognize biases and challenge automatic judgments. Begin by acknowledging your own biases. Everyone has mental shortcuts and preconceptions that influence how they perceive others. These biases can shape interpretations of gestures, tone, expressions, or energy, often without conscious awareness. Recognizing that these mental filters exist is the first step toward questioning assumptions and preventing misreading. Pause before forming conclusions. When observing someone, resist the urge to immediately interpret behavior. Allow time to consider alternative explanations for what you notice. A gesture or expression may have multiple meanings, and immediate assumptions can lead to errors. Pausing fosters careful analysis and deliberate understanding. Ask yourself what evidence supports your interpretation. Observations should be grounded in concrete, repeatable cues rather than personal belief or expectation. Evaluate whether gestures, tone, or expressions align consistently with your conclusion. Questioning the foundation of your interpretation reduces the risk of jumping to inaccurate conclusions. Consider alternative explanations. Every behavior can have multiple potential causes. A person crossing their arms might be defensive, cold, focused, or simply comfortable. Evaluating different possibilities ensures that your understanding is broad and not limited by assumptions. Exploring alternatives enhances flexibility and objectivity in perception. Examine the influence of context. Context shapes behavior, and ignoring situational factors often leads to misinterpretation. Environmental stresses, cultural norms, social hierarchy, or past experiences all impact how someone behaves. By questioning whether context explains an action, you avoid misreading intention and gain a more accurate understanding. Observe consistently over time. Single observations can be misleading because people may behave differently in isolated moments. Patterns and repetitions across interactions provide stronger evidence than one-off actions. Question whether what you observe is typical or anomalous before drawing conclusions about motives or emotions. Reflect on your emotional reactions. Personal feelings, expectations, or judgments can distort interpretation. Noticing when your assumptions are influenced by emotion allows you to separate personal bias from objective observation. Self-awareness strengthens the ability to question assumptions and improves accuracy in understanding others. Cross-check verbal and non-verbal signals. People may say one thing but communicate another through body language, tone, or energy. Question whether these signals align or diverge and explore reasons for inconsistencies. Investigating contradictions prevents assumptions based solely on superficial cues and encourages deeper analysis. Engage in active inquiry. When appropriate, ask clarifying questions to test assumptions. Rather than interpreting behavior in isolation, seek information that confirms or challenges your perspective. Questions should be respectful, neutral, and aimed at understanding rather than interrogation or judgment. Avoid projecting your experiences onto others. It is common to assume that others think, feel, or respond as you would. Recognize that each person's mind operates uniquely, influenced by individual history, preferences, and personality. Challenging the tendency to project ensures your conclusions reflect reality rather than your internal narrative. Recognize the limits of observation. You can never fully access another person's thoughts, and overconfidence in interpretation can lead to error. Accepting the inherent uncertainty encourages humility, careful consideration, and ongoing questioning of assumptions. Awareness of limitations strengthens observation and reduces the risk of misjudgment. Analyze subtle inconsistencies. Small discrepancies between gestures, expressions, tone, or behavior may indicate that an assumption is incorrect. Questioning these inconsistencies allows for refinement of perception and adjustment of conclusions before acting on them. Sensitivity to subtle contradictions improves the reliability of interpretation. Practice empathy deliberately. Understanding the perspective of others requires stepping outside your own mindset. Ask how the same situation might feel or appear to them. Questioning assumptions through empathetic perspective-taking enhances clarity and reduces misinterpretation. Notice confirmation bias. People naturally look for information that supports pre-existing beliefs. When observing others, identify whether you are selectively attending to cues that confirm assumptions. Actively challenge these biases by seeking evidence that might contradict initial interpretations. Awareness of confirmation bias is crucial for accurate understanding. Track patterns across multiple contexts. Behavior may change depending on environment, social setting, or relationships. Question whether what you observe in one situation represents general behavior or is context-specific. Recognizing variability ensures that conclusions are nuanced and evidence-based. Reflect on the consequences of incorrect assumptions. Misreading others can lead to misunderstandings, conflict, or lost opportunities. Awareness of these consequences motivates disciplined questioning, careful observation, and ethical interpretation. Reflection reinforces the importance of accuracy and perception. Cultivate patience in interpretation. Instant conclusions often rely on assumptions rather than careful observation. Taking time to gather evidence, analyze behavior, and consider alternatives improves the accuracy of understanding and strengthens relational insight. Patience allows observation to guide interpretation rather than bias. Maintain a habit of curiosity. Approach interactions with the mindset of learning rather than judging. Question why behaviors occur, what emotions may be present, and how intentions align with observed actions. Curiosity replaces assumption with investigation and opens the mind to multiple perspectives. Integrate observation and reflection. After interactions, review what you noticed, question initial interpretations, and compare them with outcomes or verbal feedback. This iterative practice refines understanding, strengthens predictive skill, and reduces reliance on assumptions over time. Commit to continuous learning. Questioning assumptions is an ongoing discipline. Every interaction offers an opportunity to practice humility, critical thinking, and careful analysis. With consistent effort, the habit of questioning assumptions becomes instinctive, improving insight, empathy, and accuracy in reading people. By deliberately questioning assumptions, maintaining awareness of bias, seeking evidence, reflecting on context, and integrating empathy, it is possible to interpret behavior with greater precision. This approach transforms observation from guesswork into thoughtful understanding, enabling more accurate insights into emotions, motives, and intentions. Practicing this skill consistently fosters clarity, relational intelligence, and confidence in navigating complex social dynamics. Chapter 16. Develop empathy to sense emotions intuitively. Developing empathy is a transformative skill that allows you to sense emotions intuitively and connect with people on a deeper level. Empathy goes beyond simply understanding words. It is the ability to feel, interpret, and respond to the unspoken experiences of others. Cultivating this skill enhances perception, strengthens relationships, and improves the ability to navigate social dynamics effectively. Developing intuitive empathy requires deliberate practice, self-awareness, and consistent attention to both verbal and non-verbal cues. Begin by paying close attention to others' emotions. Observe not only what people say, but also how they express it through gestures, tone, posture, and energy. Each subtle movement or change in expression carries information about their inner state. Developing empathy starts with noticing these details without judgment or interruption. Practice active listening. Listening fully and without distraction allows emotions to surface naturally. Focus on the speaker's tone, pace, and rhythm as much as their words. When you listen attentively, you pick up nuances that indicate underlying feelings, intentions, or concerns. Avoid planning responses while observing. True empathy requires complete presence. Notice emotional resonance. Pay attention to the emotional impact of others' behavior on yourself. Often subtle cues trigger intuitive recognition of what someone is feeling. Emotional resonance provides insight into moods, stress levels, and unspoken concerns. Recognizing this allows you to respond appropriately and compassionately. Observe facial expressions carefully. Tiny shifts in eyebrows, mouth, or eyes reveal emotions before they are verbalized. Microexpressions indicate joy, sadness, anxiety or discomfort and are key to sensing feelings intuitively. Becoming attuned to these small signals builds a strong foundation for empathetic perception. Track energy levels. People's energy often reflects emotional states. A sudden increase in movement, tone, or intensity may indicate excitement or agitation, while lowered energy may suggest sadness, fatigue, or detachment. Observing these shifts helps you align with the emotional state of others and anticipate responses. Focus on body language. The way someone holds themselves communicates emotions clearly. Open posture may reflect comfort and engagement, while tension or closed positions may signal discomfort or resistance. Recognizing these non-verbal cues strengthens your ability to sense underlying feelings. Reflect on personal emotional responses. Awareness of your own emotions enhances your ability to distinguish between your feelings and those of others. Emotional self-awareness allows empathy to be accurate rather than projected, ensuring that your interpretations are grounded in observation rather than assumption. Connect behaviors with context. People's emotional responses are influenced by environment, circumstances, and relationships. Understanding the situational context helps interpret feelings accurately and prevents misreading intentions. Observing both context and behavior together enhances intuitive understanding. Develop patience. Empathy is cultivated over time through repeated observation and careful reflection. Do not rush to conclusions about what someone feels. Allow patterns of behavior, tone, and energy to emerge naturally, building a more accurate emotional map. Practice perspective taking. Try to mentally place yourself in another person's experience. Consider what they might feel in a given situation and how their history, personality, and context shape their reactions. Perspective taking expands emotional understanding and strengthens intuitive insight. Notice small shifts over time. Emotions fluctuate subtly, and recognizing these transitions allows anticipation of mood changes and underlying concerns. Tracking these shifts develops sensitivity to patterns and strengthens intuitive perception of emotional states. Observe vocal cues. Tone, pitch, rhythm, and pauses in speech carry emotional information. Subtle changes indicate stress, joy, hesitation, or sincerity. Paying attention to these vocal patterns improves your capacity to detect emotions without relying solely on words. Recognize congruence between verbal and nonverbal communication. When body language, tone, and expression match words, emotional states are often accurately reflected. Discrepancies between them may indicate hidden feelings or internal conflict. Evaluating congruence is essential for accurate empathetic perception. Engage in reflective practice. After interactions, review emotional cues you observed and compare them with the actual behavior or verbal feedback. Reflection strengthens pattern recognition, enhances accuracy, and develops intuitive insight over time. Cultivate curiosity about human behavior. Ask questions internally about what might be driving someone's feelings. Observing without judgment and maintaining curiosity allows for deeper insight into emotions and motives, enhancing intuitive empathy. Pay attention to micro-reactions. Brief gestures, fleeting expressions, or minor movements often reveal unspoken emotions. These signals are critical in understanding feelings before they are explicitly stated and refining your empathetic perception. Combine observation with intuition. While careful observation is essential, allowing intuition to interpret subtle cues connects data into a comprehensive understanding. Intuition developed through disciplined practice provides rapid insight into emotional states. Respond with care and understanding. Empathy is not only about sensing emotions, but also responding appropriately, Recognize feelings accurately and choose communication or action that acknowledges and respects those emotions. This strengthens relationships and trust. Maintain ethical awareness. Empathetic insight should serve understanding, support, and positive connection. Avoid using emotional perception to manipulate or exploit others. Ethical empathy builds credibility and fosters meaningful engagement. Integrate mindfulness practices. Mindfulness enhances present moment awareness and attention to detail, both critical for sensing emotions intuitively. Focused awareness allows subtleties in expression, tone, and energy to be perceived with greater clarity. Apply empathy consistently. Intuitive emotional perception becomes stronger with regular practice in various interactions. Observing, listening, and reflecting consistently across different contexts builds robust skill and enhances relational intelligence. Observe group dynamics. Empathy extends beyond individual interactions, noticing collective emotional energy, reactions, and interplay among multiple people provides insight into social climate, influence, and unspoken concerns. Learn from feedback. Validate empathetic interpretations by observing responses to your words or actions. Feedback confirms or challenges your perception, allowing continual refinement of your intuitive understanding of emotions. Recognize patterns across individuals. Understanding recurring emotional behaviors helps anticipate responses in new interactions. Pattern recognition allows empathy to be predictive as well as responsive, enhancing relational insight. Through consistent practice of attentive observation, reflection, perspective-taking, and ethical application, empathy becomes a powerful tool for sensing emotions intuitively. Developing this skill strengthens understanding, connection, and influence, while enabling more accurate anticipation of emotional states. Over time, empathetic perception allows for profound insight into human behavior, enhances communication, and supports meaningful relationships grounded in trust, awareness, and emotional intelligence. Chapter 17. Reflect daily to sharpen mind-reading skills. Daily reflection is a powerful practice for developing the ability to read minds and understand others more clearly. The process of reflecting each day allows you to review interactions, analyze observations, and refine your understanding of human behavior. Reflection is not passive. It is an active engagement with your own experiences, perceptions, and interpretations. By consistently examining your observations, you identify patterns, correct mistakes, and strengthen intuition, ultimately enhancing your capacity to perceive thoughts, feelings, and motives accurately. Start by setting aside dedicated time for reflection. Even 10 or 15 minutes at the end of each day can provide significant insight. Create a quiet environment, free from distraction, where you can focus entirely on reviewing your observations. This deliberate practice allows clarity and depth in understanding interactions that occurred throughout the day. Recall specific interactions with others. Think about what people said, how they expressed themselves, and any subtle cues you noticed. Revisit their tone, gestures, facial expressions, and energy shifts. By recalling details vividly, you begin to understand behavior beyond surface appearances and connect actions with underlying emotions or intentions. Analyze your assumptions and interpretations. During reflection, question your initial judgments. Consider whether your perceptions were influenced by bias, expectation, or incomplete information. Evaluating your interpretations critically helps prevent repeated errors and develops more accurate mind-reading skills over time. Identify recurring patterns in behavior. Observing similar gestures, microexpressions, or energy shifts across multiple interactions provides insight into consistent emotional states or behavioral tendencies. Reflection allows you to connect these patterns and anticipate future reactions or intentions with greater accuracy. Examine the alignment between words and nonverbal cues. Reflect on moments when verbal communication matched or contradicted body language, tone, or energy. Understanding these alignments or discrepancies sharpens your perception and strengthens your ability to detect hidden emotions and unspoken thoughts. Notice emotional nuances you may have missed during interactions. Daily reflection enhances sensitivity to subtle cues that were overlooked in the moment. By paying attention to these nuances retrospectively, you increase awareness and improve observation skills for future encounters. Evaluate the effectiveness of your responses. Consider how your actions or words influenced others during the day. Reflecting on these outcomes teaches you how perceptive insights can guide behavior, improve communication, and foster trust. Learning from feedback enhances both interpersonal skill and intuitive understanding. Consider context and situational factors. Reflect on environmental, relational, and cultural influences that may have shaped behavior. Understanding the broader context ensures that your interpretations are accurate and grounded, rather than based on isolated observation. Practice mental visualization. Mentally replay interactions and visualize subtle cues, microexpressions, gestures, and tone. Visualization strengthens memory, enhances pattern recognition, and reinforces the connection between observation and understanding. It also allows you to experiment with alternative interpretations safely and learn from hypothetical scenarios. Record insights in a journal. Writing down observations, reflections, and lessons reinforces learning and creates a repository of experience. Journaling provides a structured way to track progress, notice recurring patterns, and evaluate the accuracy of your perceptions over time. This ongoing documentation strengthens both observation and critical analysis. Reflect on personal biases. Each day, examine ways your own emotions, expectations, or experiences may have influenced your interpretation of others. Awareness of bias improves objectivity and prevents projection, which is critical for accurately understanding the thoughts and feelings of others. Notice shifts in group dynamics. Reflection allows you to review social interactions beyond individual behavior. Consider how energy, tone, and nonverbal cues influenced relationships, cooperation, or conflict within groups. Understanding these dynamics enhances the ability to predict behavior and intentions in social contexts. Evaluate progress in perception. Reflect on how your ability to detect subtle cues, recognize patterns, and interpret emotions has improved. Comparing early observations with recent insights demonstrates growth and highlights areas for continued development. This assessment encourages motivation and consistent practice. Consider lessons from unexpected behavior. Not all interactions fit patterns or expectations. Reflecting on anomalies teaches flexibility and the ability to adapt interpretations when new information emerges. Being open to learning from surprises strengthens resilience and perceptual accuracy. Integrate empathy into reflection. Think about how others may have felt during the day and how their experiences shaped their behavior. Reflecting through an empathetic lens deepens understanding and strengthens intuitive ability to sense emotions and intentions in future interactions. Refine attention to detail. Reflection reinforces awareness of subtle shifts in posture, expression, or tone that may indicate internal states. Deliberately reviewing these details trains your mind to notice signals more quickly and accurately in real time. Develop mental scenarios. Use reflection to imagine how similar situations might unfold in the future based on observed behaviors. Predicting responses enhances anticipation skills and strengthens mind-reading capabilities. This forward-thinking approach builds confidence and strategic awareness. Assess ethical implications. Consider whether your observations and interpretations respect the privacy, autonomy, and dignity of others. Ethical reflection ensures that mind-reading skills are applied constructively rather than manipulatively, fostering trust and meaningful relationships. Make reflection a consistent habit. Daily practice embeds the process into your routine and strengthens your capacity for observation, analysis, and intuition. Over time, reflection becomes instinctive, allowing you to continuously sharpen your mind-reading skills without conscious effort. By dedicating time each day to reflect on interactions, behaviors, cues, and outcomes, you transform raw observation into deep understanding. This disciplined practice refines perceptions, strengthens intuition, and enhances empathy. Daily reflection connects observation with insight, enabling accurate interpretation of emotions, intentions, and patterns of behavior. Over weeks and months, consistent reflection develops mastery in reading minds, improving interpersonal skills, decision-making, and relational intelligence, while fostering personal growth and self-awareness. Chapter 18. Apply techniques ethically to influence positively. Applying mind-reading techniques ethically requires a combination of self-discipline, empathy, and a strong moral framework. Observing and interpreting the thoughts, emotions, and intentions of others grants a unique influence over interactions, but influence must always be exercised responsibly to maintain trust and respect. Ethical application transforms observational skills into a tool for positive outcomes, fostering cooperation, understanding, and mutual benefit. The foundation of ethical influence is awareness, integrity, and intention, ensuring that insight is used to support and empower rather than manipulate or control. Begin by clarifying your intentions. Before using any perceptual insight, ask yourself whether your goal benefits the other person, enhances communication, or promotes understanding. Ethical influence is grounded in positive intentions, focusing on constructive outcomes rather than personal gain at the expense of others. This clarity prevents misuse of perceptive skills and guides behavior in alignment with moral responsibility. Respect boundaries and autonomy. Understanding another's thoughts or emotions does not grant permission to override their decisions. Influence must honor personal choice and freedom. Recognizing boundaries ensures that actions remain supportive rather than coercive, preserving trust and authentic relationships. Use insight to foster cooperation. Observing patterns, energy, and emotional states can help identify ways to collaborate effectively. Adjust communication, tone, and behavior to align with others' preferences and comfort, while remaining authentic. Ethical influence enhances collaboration without undermining autonomy or exploiting vulnerability. Communicate with transparency and honesty. Insights gained from perceptive skills should be used to clarify, assist, and support rather than deceive. When sharing observations or guiding decisions, remain truthful and respectful. Transparent application builds credibility and strengthens the impact of your influence positively. Apply empathy to guide actions. Understanding emotions and intentions allows for tailored responses that are sensitive to needs and feelings. Consider how your words and actions affect others emotionally and adapt to ensure support rather than distress. Ethical influence prioritizes well-being over manipulation. Recognize power dynamics. In situations of authority or influence, awareness of others' thoughts and feelings carries greater responsibility. Exercise skill to foster fairness, encouragement, and constructive outcomes. Avoid using knowledge of emotions or intentions to dominate, pressure, or exploit individuals with less power. Observe reactions carefully. When applying influence, monitor how others respond to your words, actions, or suggestions. Use these cues to adjust approaches in real time, ensuring that influence is beneficial and aligned with their needs and comfort. This responsiveness reinforces ethical practice. Balance assertiveness with sensitivity. Ethical influence requires expressing your perspective confidently while remaining attentive to the emotional state and reactions of others. Adjust tone, pace, and content to maintain alignment with empathy and respect. Effective communication enhances outcomes without compromising integrity. Use observation to resolve conflicts. Perceptive skills enable recognition of underlying emotions, fears, or motivations driving disagreement. Apply insight to facilitate dialogue, mediate misunderstandings, and guide interactions toward mutually beneficial solutions. Ethical influence focuses on resolution rather than manipulation. Encourage growth and improvement. Applying mind-reading techniques responsibly allows you to support others in achieving their potential. Identify emotional blocks, communication barriers, or unspoken concerns, and provide guidance or feedback in ways that promote self-awareness and personal development. Positive influence uplifts rather than controls. Develop discretion and confidentiality. Insights gained through observation and interpretation must be handled sensitively. Avoid sharing information about emotions, intentions, or vulnerabilities without consent. Ethical use of perceptive skills protects privacy and fosters trust. Focus on mutual benefit. Ethical influence is not one-sided. Consider how both parties can gain from guidance, communication, or support. Align actions with shared goals, values, or interests to create interactions that enhance relationships and promote constructive outcomes. Avoid exploiting weaknesses. Observing anxiety, uncertainty, or hesitation in others can provide insight, but using these signals to manipulate is unethical. Ethical practice requires applying awareness to offer support, reassurance, and guidance, rather than taking advantage of vulnerabilities. Adapt to cultural and social context. Ethical influence requires sensitivity to norms, values, and expectations in diverse settings. Observational insights must be applied with awareness of cultural differences in expression, emotion, and communication to ensure respect and appropriateness. Reflect on outcomes regularly. After applying influence, review the results of your actions. Consider whether intentions were achieved without causing harm, discomfort, or distrust. Reflection reinforces ethical application and identifies opportunities to improve approach in future interactions. Integrate feedback. Seek or notice feedback from others regarding your approach. Adjust behavior, communication, or guidance based on this input to maintain alignment with ethical standards and positive influence. Responsiveness strengthens trust and effectiveness. Promote autonomy through guidance. Use perceptive insights to help others make informed decisions rather than imposing your own agenda. Facilitate clarity, understanding, and self-reflection so that influence empowers choice instead of limiting freedom. Ethical influence nurtures independence and confidence. Cultivate patience in applying influence. Positive impact often requires time, repeated observation, and careful adjustment of approach. Avoid forcing outcomes or rushing decisions. Ethical application respects natural pace, allowing trust and receptivity to develop gradually. Focus on constructive solutions. When insights reveal challenges or conflicts, direct your influence toward problem-solving, clarity, or encouragement. Highlight options, resources, and actionable steps that improve situations rather than control or dominate others. Constructive guidance is a hallmark of ethical practice. Commit to personal integrity. Ethical influence depends on consistent alignment between values, actions, and perception. Use observational skills to enhance understanding, support, and collaboration while avoiding deception or manipulation. Maintaining integrity ensures sustainable, positive relationships. Teach and model responsible behavior. Demonstrating ethical application of observational skills encourages others to adopt similar approaches. Modeling respectful, empathetic, and thoughtful influence strengthens relational environments and fosters collective trust. By applying mind-reading techniques with ethical awareness, empathy, and intention, it is possible to create meaningful, positive influence. Observational skills become a tool for guidance, support, and collaboration rather than control or manipulation. Ethical practice enhances communication, strengthens relationships, and builds trust while empowering both parties. Consistent reflection, respect for boundaries, and prioritization of mutual benefit ensure that the application of perceptive skills improves lives and nurtures understanding in every interaction. Chapter 19. Strengthen focus to notice small signals. Strengthening focus is essential for noticing the small signals that reveal thoughts, emotions, and intentions. Many of the cues people give off are subtle and fleeting, and without concentrated attention, they easily go unnoticed. Developing strong focus requires training your mind to stay present, to observe without distraction, and to notice details that others may overlook. The ability to detect these small signals enhances understanding, builds intuition, and allows you to respond more accurately in social interactions. Begin by cultivating mindfulness in daily life. Mindfulness sharpens attention and anchors awareness in the present moment. Simple practices such as observing surroundings, paying attention to sounds, or noticing physical sensations help train your mind to focus fully. This heightened presence directly improves the ability to catch subtle shifts in expressions, gestures, and tone. Eliminate distractions during observation. Environmental noise, multitasking, and wandering thoughts reduce the ability to detect fine signals. Choose situations where your attention can be fully directed toward people or interactions. Focused observation allows the mind to register nuances that reveal emotions or intentions. Practice selective attention. Direct your concentration to specific elements, such as facial expressions, hand movements, posture, or voice changes. Avoid spreading attention too thin across multiple elements at once. By narrowing focus intentionally, subtle cues become clearer and more interpretable. Train your visual acuity. Observe small movements in eyes, lips, or hands. Tiny shifts often indicate emotional changes, hesitations, or intentions. Improving visual focus enhances the ability to detect these micro-signals and link them to underlying mental states. Develop auditory sensitivity. Listen for variations in tone, pitch, rhythm, and speed of speech. These changes often reflect emotions, stress levels, or internal conflict. Focusing intently on vocal nuances allows interpretation of feelings even when words do not directly reveal them. Practice consistent scanning of behavior. Observe multiple aspects of interaction simultaneously, including posture, facial microexpressions, gestures, and verbal communication. Strengthening focus involves training the mind to integrate multiple small signals to form a coherent understanding. Eliminate assumptions while observing. Assumptions can cloud focus and lead to missing subtle cues. Observe behaviors objectively without jumping to conclusions. Neutral attention allows even minor changes to register clearly and accurately. Exercise concentration through daily drills. Activities such as reading people in a crowded environment, noting microexpressions in conversations, or practicing controlled observation improve mental stamina and focus. Regular practice strengthens the mind's ability to capture and interpret small details effectively. Use repetition to reinforce attention, reviewing interactions mentally, and identifying overlooked cues sharpens the ability to notice signals in real time. Reflection and repeated practice enhance memory and observational acuity, making subtle cues easier to detect in future encounters. Minimize mental fatigue. Focus weakens when the mind is tired or stressed. Prioritize rest, mental breaks, and structured attention periods to maintain high levels of alertness. A well-rested mind is far more capable of noticing small behavioral signals. Engage in sensory training. Exercises that strengthen perception, such as observing minute movements in natural environments or listening to quiet sounds, enhance overall attention to detail. Sensory refinement directly contributes to detecting subtle social cues. Observe patterns in behavior. Repeated behaviors or signals provide stronger evidence than isolated actions. Focusing on patterns allows you to distinguish meaningful cues from random movements or expressions. Consistency strengthens interpretation and predictive ability. Combine observation with reflection. After interactions, mentally review the small signals you noticed and assess their significance. This process reinforces focus, improves interpretation, and builds the capacity to detect similar cues more efficiently in real-time situations. Practice patience. Some small signals appear fleetingly and may require careful attention to catch. Allow interactions to unfold naturally without rushing to conclusions. Patient observation increases the likelihood of noticing subtle cues that reveal thoughts or emotions. Use peripheral awareness. While focusing on central actions, maintain awareness of the surrounding environment and secondary behaviors. Peripheral observation captures additional signals that provide context or clarify intentions. This expands the depth of perception without losing focus. Develop body scanning skills. Observe gestures, posture, and micro-movements continuously without becoming overwhelmed. Training the mind to process these small cues simultaneously enhances understanding and strengthens the ability to read people intuitively. Maintain emotional neutrality. Strong emotions can narrow attention and distort focus. By observing calmly and objectively, subtle signals become more apparent and interpretations remain accurate. Emotional control improves clarity in perception and analysis. Challenge yourself with complex observations. Practice noticing signals in multi-person interactions or high-stimulus environments. The complexity trains focus, forces mental adaptability, and improves the capacity to interpret multiple subtle cues simultaneously. Use feedback loops. Compare observed signals with outcomes to determine accuracy. Correcting errors and reinforcing accurate perceptions strengthens attention and improves future recognition of small cues. Feedback reinforces focus and sharpens interpretive skill. Integrate focus into everyday routines. Apply attentive observation in casual interactions, professional meetings, or social gatherings. Daily practice ensures that noticing small signals becomes habitual, intuitive, and effortless. By strengthening focus through mindfulness, sensory awareness, selective attention, and consistent practice, you develop the capacity to notice subtle signals that reveal emotions, thoughts, and intentions. Heightened focus allows you to capture details others miss, interpret meaning accurately, and respond thoughtfully. With deliberate effort, focused observation becomes a natural skill that enhances intuition, builds relational intelligence, and empowers you to read people with precision and confidence. Chapter 20. Commit to practice to master mind reading. Mastering the ability to read minds is not an instantaneous achievement. It requires consistent, deliberate practice over time. Commitment to daily effort is the cornerstone of developing this skill, transforming observation, empathy, and intuition into a reliable capacity to understand thoughts, emotions, and intentions with precision. Practicing regularly strengthens perception, enhances awareness of subtle cues, and builds confidence in interpreting complex human behavior. Mastery emerges not from isolated effort, but from persistence, reflection, and continuous application of learned techniques. Begin by establishing a structured routine for practice. Dedicate time each day to observe interactions, note behaviors, and reflect on subtle signals. Regular focused sessions allow the mind to recognize patterns and integrate observational skills into natural perception. Structure creates momentum and ensures consistent improvement. Start small and build progressively. Begin by focusing on simple cues such as facial expressions, gestures, or tone of voice. As proficiency grows, expand attention to microexpressions, energy shifts, and behavioral patterns. Gradual progression prevents overwhelm, reinforces learning, and strengthens confidence in interpreting subtle information accurately. Track progress meticulously. Maintain a journal to document observations, insights, successes, and mistakes. Recording experiences consolidates learning and highlights areas needing further practice. Journaling allows reflection, identifies recurring patterns, and reinforces recognition of both verbal and nonverbal cues over time. Practice deliberate observation in various contexts. Apply skills in personal relationships, social gatherings, professional meetings, and public interactions. Exposure to diverse situations sharpens adaptability, improves accuracy, and develops the ability to detect cues across multiple environments. Variation strengthens mastery. Engage in reflective analysis after each practice session. Review what was observed, what was interpreted correctly, and what may have been misread. Honest assessment allows learning from mistakes and reinforces correct interpretations, strengthening both accuracy and confidence. Combine observation with intuition. Practice allows the mind to integrate patterns, subtle signals, and contextual information into rapid, accurate insight. Intuition develops as the mind learns to interpret cues without conscious effort, turning knowledge into instinctive understanding over time. Challenge yourself with complexity. Observe multiple people simultaneously, notice subtle interactions, and identify overlapping emotional signals. Tackling complexity improves focus, expands perception, and enhances the ability to synthesize diverse inputs into coherent understanding. Seek feedback when appropriate. Validate perceptions with trusted individuals, noting when interpretations align with reality or require adjustment. Feedback refines accuracy, reinforces learning, and prevents habitual misinterpretation of signals. Constructive guidance accelerates mastery. Practice patience and persistence. Mastery cannot be rushed. Repeated observation, reflection, and application build gradual improvement, strengthening neural pathways associated with attention, perception, and empathy. Consistency over months or years produces lasting skill. Develop emotional resilience. Reading minds requires managing your own reactions and emotions. Strong emotional control allows unbiased observation, prevents projection, and maintains objectivity. Emotional stability is essential to accurately perceive subtle cues and intentions. Incorporate mindfulness techniques. Mindfulness enhances focus, awareness and presence, allowing you to notice subtle signals that might otherwise go undetected. Mindful observation sharpens perception and strengthens the ability to respond to cues intuitively and accurately. Observe behavioral patterns across time. Daily practice enables recognition of habitual gestures, recurring expressions, and predictable responses. Understanding patterns improves prediction, enhances empathy, and allows nuanced interpretation of intentions and emotions. Engage in mental rehearsal. Visualize observing interactions, noting microexpressions, gestures, and tone. Mentally simulate scenarios and predict responses. This strengthens memory, prepares the mind for real interactions, and improves the ability to notice subtle cues naturally. Use ethical principles consistently. Practice must always be grounded in respect, empathy, and integrity. Commit to applying skills responsibly to support, guide, and enhance communication without manipulation or coercion. Ethical practice ensures trust and sustainable mastery. Combine multiple senses. Effective mind reading involves integrating visual, auditory, and contextual cues simultaneously. Practice noticing changes in posture, tone, eye movement, and energy collectively. Multisensory awareness strengthens accuracy and deepens understanding of human behavior. Maintain physical and mental well-being. Focus, attention, and perception are enhanced by sufficient rest, nutrition, and stress management. A healthy mind and body improve capacity to observe and interpret signals accurately over time. Review and adapt strategies regularly. Practice requires flexibility. Adjust observation techniques, reflection methods, and interpretive approaches based on experience, feedback, and evolving understanding. Adaptability ensures continuous growth and prevents stagnation. Apply skills in real-world situations progressively. Start with low-stakes interactions, gradually applying perceptive techniques in more complex or challenging social contexts. Practical application reinforces learning and builds confidence in everyday use. Celebrate small achievements. Recognizing incremental improvement reinforces motivation, commitment, and dedication to the practice. Each successful interpretation, insight, or connection observed strengthens confidence and encourages continued effort. Commit fully to long-term mastery. Recognize that mind reading is a skill developed over years through consistent, intentional practice. Dedication, patience, reflection, and ethical application together create profound understanding, enhanced empathy, and intuitive perception. The journey of daily practice ultimately transforms observation into an instinctive, reliable ability to read thoughts, emotions, and intentions accurately, providing both personal growth and meaningful connection with others.